We've already discussed plans. That's some interesting ideas. Okay.
I'm rolling.
Excellent. Welcome back. We've just taken a lunch break, and today we covered interesting but incomplete, but ADNA and VDNA, which is the components of your articles, components of your videos, which is essentially the painkiller method, and the recognition that almost all action on the internet is driven by seeking the solution to a pain, even if it's a simple search, and how to keep things interesting but incomplete, from small systems to large, from banner-sized locations to Facebook memes to how the page is designed. Whole point is keep things interesting but incomplete, sell the click, and test, test, test. Don't assume that these methods work all the time in every place, because as soon as you assume that, you do your test and the most outlandish and unexpected thing works. And part of that is because the environment is always changing, and there's something called collective consciousness or ubiquity consciousness, in which people get tired of seeing the same old layout, and then all of a sudden the new layout comes along and poof, everybody loves it. And then everybody starts using it, and then that goes away. Next. You know, one social media platform happens, Facebook, people get used to that context. All of a sudden Pinterest is there. And the women's market just completely goes zonkers, and everybody's pinning everything. That has a limited time frame, we know it, we're telling you it does. But what's interesting is that there's new types of contexts coming, and all of them will follow similar principles that make it easier for the brain to deal with large data sets in a single frame style sheet. And then all of our brains as a culture will change to be able to interpret data more quickly with a nice visual overview, and we'll just get better and better at doing that. So that's kind of where things are going. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this session. We had to move to lunch, but we're going to do a summary of interesting but incomplete. We looked at the interesting but incomplete. Let's move past that. We're done. Hamsters are dead. Bump.
It's the sound of the hamster hitting the side of the wheel, right?
It's like that. Sounds like this. All right, here's what I need to do to get my power back. I've been stripped of my power. Again. There we go. That should work. Babe with the power. What power? Okay, here you go. Books and concepts that will help you. Irresistible offer. Very interesting. And the special connection I'd like to offer you here is the relationship of the Irresistible offer. This is Mark Joyner. We've given you this book. It's in the mail, at least. Really, it is. And these said promise books really are in the way to you. Wow. Irresistible offer is fantastic. It's just amazing. What is it? What are you selling?
What are you selling? How much does it cost? What's in it for me? And why should I believe you?
Right, and there's different ways to answer each one of those points. And all of it depends on how much space you have, what context it's in, how much time you have to communicate that. Okay, so but the connection I'd like you to make is with the Irresistible offer to day 1, ISDNA, start with why. It's exactly backwards in comparison. One is the inverse of the other. So this is really about the selling ring. This is really when you have to close it. The why is the big picture, the brand, your black box. What drives you and your innovation. Okay? Pretty powerful stuff. The slippery slope. Have we talked about the slippery slope at all?
Yes.
Did we do the slippery slope drawing?
Yes.
Yes, we did. Who remembers what the slippery slope is? Somebody help me out here so we can refresh everyone. Slippery slope.
Sales funnel from lead generation lead through to first price point, and then hooks at lifetime value.
Right. So the slippery slope, if done properly, interesting but incomplete, can scale you. It's called the client ascension product, but it's also the sales funnel descension into evangelism, where somebody is so excited and passionate about what you do that they're beating down your door at 3 a.m. with a shotgun wanting the next product. Okay? That's the ideal scenario, is excellent product, but excellent, interesting, but incomplete, combined to create a lifetime evangelist. It sounds easy, or not, and it is once you understand the formula. Anticipation versus satisfaction, is it clear how that works now? We should have covered that, beat that dead horse to death, right? Get it, interesting but incomplete. Anticipation is not the same as satisfaction. This is why, this is really why the buyer's remorse exists. I expressed to you how Lost was my favorite, I'm exposing myself here because I know some people really hate the show. I thought it was brilliant, at least for the first 2 seasons, and then they started repeating. When I got to the last season, everybody's like stacked up with popcorn waiting for the last show. It was a 2-hour special, and inevitably disappointed. I had buyer's remorse simply because they promised me that that was not the kind of ending it would be. They made promises several times saying it would not be. I'm not going to say anything about it, but I didn't like the ending. It was a cop-out and easy to write. So I was not satisfied with the ending. However, I'm also a loyal fan, so it was kind of iffy. Slippery slope mechanisms are very, very strange. That there's something called confabulation and cognitive dissonance, where if you've been dragged down a slope for a certain amount of time and you've got a lot of invested energy, you're afraid to complain. You're afraid to criticize that something is wrong with the product, okay? And that's because you think there must be something wrong with you. Cognitive dissonance is another very, very powerful technique and a dangerous one. So the best thing is to have great products, services, and major innovations. Match satisfaction with great marketing, which is anticipation. Match an awesome product or experience with the greatest show on earth, and you're gonna take over the market, period. Keep them entertained, keep them coming back for more. Exit laughing. Okay, sell to click, we got that. Book, Pitch Anything. Framing uses IBI in pricing, keyword pricing. Be cautious with Pitch Anything, and don't mistake, despite what he says, the formula as always going to work. There's something that I've coined in my work in my company called meta framing. Okay, it's in our glossary actually, I have given a definition of it. Meta framing is the strange phenomenon that happens when everybody figures out what the formula is. It changes the entire culture. When everybody figures out that this kind of sales letter works and that Frank Kern's created, everybody starts using it, and then there's this weird thing that happens, which is like this weird yucky feeling, especially if you're really close to the industry, that this is just a knockoff or a different kind of contextual method or frame that everybody's using. They can still work as formula, but the more intelligent people are going to start to be off-put by it. An example of this was Joe Vitale's headline generator. Everybody had that. I must have created like 90 million headlines on that thing. I mean, it's just crazy. And he's a hypnotic therapist. He's one of the first guys out there that really used that kind of stuff to even position his marketing. And one of the lines that it generates is, who else wants a blah, blah, blah product, blah, blah, blah. That still works, but anybody worth their weight in gold is a marketer, and will know that a lot of people it looks like it's got a trademark of being fake headline generator. Yep. And you can tell. And you might still sell quite a few newbie products. Like, it still works on newbie and intermediate markets, but it's really bad to sell $20,000 conferences with. Who else wants to come to Theme Zoom certification? Terrible. So just keep in mind the age of the technology, the methods that everybody's using. Make a distinction, if you can, even in the context, the style sheet, the frame. And sometimes things work. The Belcher button still works, right? That's the buy button with the the ironclad guarantee at the bottom of it. Now the Belcher button generators are really popular. Stuff still works more or less. But if you can create distinction even there, like, don't try to reinvent the wheel with basic functions, but that's what we're looking at. So meta framing is going to work unless somebody knows that you're doing it. So you can try, it's kind of funny to watch two persuaders or two. I watched Mystery, who is the world's most famous pickup artist, and hung out with him, and a friend of ours does marketing for him. And there was another pickup artist, and it was really funny to watch them to try to out-pick up women together. And they would start canceling out each other's frame. It's really hilarious, and they're both really pathetic at it, but it was just really funny to watch them. Oh, he's social framing, he's prize framing, he's elbow framing. And it was just funny to watch, and it's just like hilarious. So what's happening with that is if everybody starts to turn it into formula, this is what concerns me about the pitch deck. PowerPoint presentations became formula. There's a good and a bad thing. I love it when everybody knows the gimmicks, because culture will progress. I'm a total contrarian. Sue and I both have this position. Yeah. We would like to expose all the tricks after we, of course, sucked all the money out of the market. But we would like to expose all the tricks that people use. The more people that know them, actually culture can begin to accelerate. We can start to move on to things that are far more interesting than blind spots. The entire culture is driven by cognitive blind spots. People are doing things for reasons they don't understand, all of us, me included. Some of them are worthy of being revealed, because then we can move on to more interesting things. So just using them always for information, that's not the big game we have. The big game I have is exposing all of them. I'm writing a book about blind spots right now, and all of them will be exposed, even the big one. The biggest blind spot there is called nosagnosia. Nosagnosia. It's blindness. You're blind, the fact that you're blind, it's a medical condition. And the brain fills in the gaps. And you are 1,000,000% convinced that you are not blind. You can sit in front of the doctor, and he will begin to talk to you, and he'll say, what am I holding up? And you'll create a whole and gigantic story, and you're 100% convinced. What you're doing is your brain is filling in the gaps. Literally, it's a mechanism. The optical nerve participates with the imagination centers to create a holographic experience of something that you cannot see, but you're literally blind. There is no optical activity, there's no vision happening. And this case study has spawned an entire study in confabulation and self-deception. All of us, we have evolved to include a variety of self-deceptive mechanisms. And marketers, our job is to exploit them. But the ultimate goal of a marketer is to transcend them and change culture. This is what I'm about. But first, let's make a ton of money. Okay, so discussion, made to stick, favorite book, right? Okay, the main thing I want you to take away from this is what we talked about today and yesterday is my happy birthday to you is not your Star-Spangled Banner. This is called The Curse of Knowledge. I really forgot to give you that name, so if you could just jot it down. The Curse of Knowledge is something Kelly and Lisa and I talked about last night. Kelly mentioned that some in the early work that I was communicating that sometimes I may be smarter than I think. In other words, I'm not necessarily communicating the best that I can. That's an example of the curse of knowledge. Curse of knowledge is a burden because you can overteach, over-communicate, and you think it sounds just great. That's the curse of knowledge. It's like, you're just like, of course, don't you know? Because in my mind, I think that you're me when I'm communicating things, and it's so not true.
Isn't it obvious what search engines do? Hello?
Yeah. And I'm having to unlearn everything about teaching in order to stay directly within the made-to-stick parameters. So whenever I'm saying something, I no longer assume anything. And I never discovered this better than I did in writing a help manual for Matt and Sue's software. Do not assume they know what a button is. Do not assume they know what click here means. If you can avoid having to have them figure it out by just having it click by itself, do it. If you can flash something on the screen that says over here, do it. No matter how smart of people we're dealing with, if software, this is all the study of user interface. User interface is something I depend upon all of you to help us with, because we don't know until we know. And then if people don't say anything because they think we don't listen, we listen to everything. If you can't find something, it's a huge problem. So user interface is where I learned about the curse of knowledge. I know what I'm thinking, so why don't you? Remember your customers. They don't know how you arrived at your black box. Okay, so Made to Stick is all about the curse of knowledge, how to transcend it. That's why I read at least a little bit every day, especially when I'm going into a communication environment. I'm like, okay, I don't want to do that. This is what I tend to do, keep it really simple. Okay, escaping the price-driven sale. The final takeaway is that the entire book is really, I'm glad you have a copy, but there's really one point. That's the reason I included it. Perceived value versus market value. How much, like Kevin's going to have to determine how much he's going to charge. Vinny and Sue and I are talking about pricing, and Matt and I are talking about pricing of really large networks where we can do the numbers, but the sum of the parts does not make the whole. The value can be accelerated, increased in that black box by a margin of 1,000%, depending upon what market and who the business owner is, and there's a lot of variables. So how to price stuff like that is very interesting, and moving past the price-driven sale is a guidebook for that, and for you folks too. You start looking at your products and services, you have to consider who you're selling to, but where is value exchanged? It's actually the same anticipation mechanism, dopamine mechanism that I taught today, that we talked about today. But it's just one tiny twist. It's an unexpected solution to a major pain or problem of any size. Okay, and so bigger the problem, the bigger the perceived value, right? So that's the main one. But the twist is, don't try to sell anyone. That's what the pitch deck's about. Use the pitch deck combined with the escaping the price-driven sale, and I promise you that you probably right now have at least a $20,000 product sitting around. But without that thinking, you can't create the product. This is for you too, because I really want you to.
Absolutely.
I want you to sell a network for us, not a free 10-minute consultation. Meh. I'm glad, and it's fine if you get to that network via a 10-minute conversation. Yeah, exactly. So the thing in the price-driven sale is providing an unexpected solution to a major pain or problem of any size, and letting the customer arrive at the conclusion that you are the only viable option himself.
Yeah.
That's the entire book summarized. I mean, you don't even really need to read it if you get that. Yeah. There's not, it is one of the most powerful books I've ever read, but only when it's coupled with a knowledge of dopamine. He had no knowledge of dopamine and anticipation, so he doesn't really know exactly what he's saying. He just knows it works. An example of that is a consult his firm did with a gold distilling company. They literally in South Africa. I think it was either in South Africa or somewhere in Africa. And they were having a problem that when they were refining the gold, it was caking on with these other minerals and elements, and they had to find a way to get it off. And it was extremely expensive. In fact, so expensive that it was cost prohibitive to the company. His firm came in, did a job. They found an alternative method, which they had known in their back pocket from another industry, that it lowered the price by thousands upon thousands of percentage, making gold not only viable, but even more profitable than they had before they were even starting. So he presented the material, but he goes through the process of describing how he didn't even name a price. It's just like the sideways sales letter model. Like they don't even know what the price is going to be till that day. Notice that about the product launch formula. That is true, that principle. And by the time they get to the solution, what, you mean you have that solution? They are so ready to, you could lob out numbers that you just made up on the way to lunch. That's, in fact, he describes it as, you can go and say things that are 30 or 40% above what makes you feel comfortable, and people will buy it. And if you really have delivered an unexpected solution, that's the key. This is different than buyer's remorse. If you actually do have that innovative solution, that ISDNA, it's why we taught it to you first. It's over. You will never have money problems ever again in your whole life. It'll be like it's magic. You're walking through a world of magic. That's what it seems like to everyone else. It's not. But this is as close to magic, what we're discussing here, as anything on earth. How to create perceived value out of thin air and match it with an unexpected solution that you've either gotten from somewhere else or that you've provided and invented yourself. You don't have to invent your own process. One of the reasons that you're here is because you can use our black box. If you like it, if you want to make a better one, work with us. You want to create something with your brand around it, talk to us. You want to create a white label, we can. But the key is providing the value, providing the unexpected solution, showing the data that Matt's outputs have created, that Kraken's outputs have created. Yep. Let them come to their own decision about the data you point out the hot points in the data. But then it's unexpected. When they see the Kraken data output, which is a total vertical market keyword, and they just have a general idea, some people are so blown that I've worked with students where they try to close them in that moment. Those are the moments you just shut up.
Yep.
Sue does it incredibly well. She's still the best at it. She has nothing to prove. Salesmen tend to oversell. You don't have to. Let the data speak for itself. The only thing you got to watch it for is whether the client can interpret that data.
Yep.
There's two problems with interpreting data. Either the developers haven't made it cool enough, that's a user interface, and we're always working on that, we're always open to that, or else the person jumps the gun before the impact of the data has settled in. The pregnant pause is the hardest thing to do as a theater actor, because you feel like you're always moving, and in conversations, in dialogue and persuasion, the pregnant pause is counterintuitive, but it's the most important thing when closing beyond the price-driven sale. I know it seems like magic, and we're not talking about a con here. We're talking about mechanisms of how human beings respond to impact and then create value in their own minds, and what drives them to write a check with an extra zero on it.
48
Makes sense?
Laws of Power. Do you want to mention that?
48 Laws of Power is a great book. And it's getting more into the sociology of the history of power, structure, and value perception. Almost all of it, folks, is social dynamics. The 48 Laws of Power talks about the history of, there's 48 kind of patterns, trends, and strategies that people have used to manipulate culture for thousands of years. All of them are in that book, with the exception of 2 or 3 that I know of. And it's just about how these messages, how the movement of expectation can be manipulated through social dynamics. So it's a little bit different than what we're talking about here, but if you want to look at how to create massive political change on the planet, 48 Laws of Power was designed to do that using these precisely same principles. Okay, so it's kind of an aside, we haven't given you that book, but you might want to put it on your Saturday reading list. It's really good. also extremely dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous.
Sue uses all 48 of them on all of us every day. Okay, so escaping the price-driven sale. Definition of value. Value exchange with the client can exceed market value formulas of predetermined price when a consultant provides unexpected solution to a painful, unsolved problem. So don't give it all away up front. The solution is not unexpected when you do that. Pregnant pause. Interesting but incomplete. Okay, I know I'm hammering this in, but it is the single most transformational thing about this event when it comes to the direct response marketing. Okay, and even the indirect response marketing. All right, so translation, don't get everything up on the first date. Bad idea. Okay, keep it IBI, interesting but incomplete. All right, that's good enough. So you'll have this escaping the price during sale plus pitch anything. It's $1 million empire. Okay, this is going to raise the price of your consultative services, which you don't want during a liquidity event. Isn't that weird? Like, you can get a lot of money for consultative services when pitched this way, because you're a consultant providing unexpected solutions to a problem. And yet, you don't really want services to be your liquidity event. So you've got two things going on. They're parallel. You've got the creation of productization of the small stuff, so that they're things, they're stuff, they're black boxes that can be sold off as independent business processes and or software and or manufactured goods. But then you've also got the big back end, which can go for astronomical prices when the black box is actually real. And you get a cherry pick. Who gets that? Wow, seems simple, right? Let's see you do it.
It is.
It is very simple. Do it. Because then you can go through both a liquidity event and have fun raising prices on clients who are just clamoring at your gates because they really want you. Because you're telling the truth. People who really want you because you're lying, that's buyer's remorse. That's not you. We want your ISDNA to be real. Okay, and we'll even help you by giving you some of ours, some of our black boxes, if you want them. So that's kind of what we're looking at. All right, excellent. So now we're going to jump right into the next section. Thank you. One feed, syndication, automation, blah, blah, blah. All right. We've come a long way since the slideshow was made. But we're going to talk about the details of this, and this is very collaborative. Sue may jump in. Matt may jump in. We've come a long way since then. There's a lot of technologies been written, but this will give you a general overview. Okay? Certification, one feed, syndication, automation, one feed to rule them all. It's kind of a gimmick. I got it from Lord of the Rings. It seemed to stick. The one feed to rule them all system is a pet name used by Network Empire team to describe the process of RSS curation. And this is, again, RSS is about curating entire feeds and entire streams of perpetual information. Just taking those streams as they fall from the digital world and putting them in places that, what did Matt write down earlier? You had that great thing. That's all right. You want to take people's.
Only rip what's important.
Huh?
Only rip what's important.
Rip what's important. You're hijacking information on the web that's already there. We talked about intrigue, and you're using it and you're reframing it in a variety of locations downstream. Okay, but you're using your own content first. Your own content is coming downstream into the one feed. So one feed is not to be confused with advanced content curation and real-time news story crafting and flipping best practices. These are not addressed in the technical one feed setup. This is quite technical, this setup. This is about plugging the right RSS into the right location. Yep. And the right location being properly set up, and then the right followers dumped automatically or manually into those right locations. You add the eyeballs at the last part so that people actually see it, or not. If you don't add eyeballs, then it's 100% machine world, isn't it? If you're only adding RSS feed that's 100% technical, it's only designed to please the machine world and help with rankings. We're trying to avoid a ton of doing that. We want you to have both traffic, and sometimes RSS is awesome for ranking, like just by itself. So one feed setup, not all third-party platforms required for those methods are included here. Nor does the basic one feed setup require the use of Google Plus or any other systems that do not provide an RSS feed out. Okay, these are just options that we provide. RSS feed for Google Plus is the software we have, so on and so forth. But I want you to understand the principles first, and then you can decide in your empire drawing, your diagram, how you want to auto-thread these. Relax, you don't have to accomplish this whole thing. all at once right now, all right? And you're not going to be the same as everyone else. You'll have your own thumbprint. Dang it. Go back. Just hit the back button. Thanks, Matt. This is the old original version that was in the content curation method, and it's changed quite a bit. This was just where I was fixated on Google Plus at the time. And then once that was solved, we've moved on to expand to many, many other things. Okay. So you start with your WR1 and WRS1. And hopefully we've made it really clear that those can vary from person to person. And the first thing that I would have you do is make a list of all of the current feeds and put them on a spreadsheet. Right? And those feeds can be multiple. I've got, when we're done, I'll give you we have all the RSS feeds for you. You know, your Twitter, it's api.twitter/blah. And you've got gdata/YouTube. These are precise RSS locations that will be connected to your own profile, and you can grab those feeds. You can go into our Google Plus RSS feed, take your Google account, it'll generate a feed for you out of your Google Plus stream if you choose to go that route. So these are all places, these are feeds that you should have listed, know where they are so that you can do stuff with them. And many are the ways, and we're going to talk about some of those stuffs that you can do.
We're going to cover them all.
Yeah. Starting with making a list. WR1, WR2, where are my feeds? Don't lose your feeds. I should be able to just ask you to go get a feed. In 30 seconds or less, you should be able to go grab it. See? I mean, it's got to be fast. Know thy feeds. and Matt and Sue are making it much easier for us. I almost fell over when I saw all the feed ports that they added on. Like, I go to sleep and I wake up and the whole thing is like changed. So you never know what's going to happen. But we're building all those places to put those feeds. So of which RSS feeds you already have, our minimum requirements are basic level 1 feed with them all, a non-overwhelming introduction to feeds, no curation skills required. Again, this is not about curation. RSS WR1 is a money site, website feed. Probably you have 2 feeds. Remember that your blog does have a feed for every category on almost all themes. Not all, but you can get a feed specific to categories. WordPress has an extraordinarily flexible RSS manipulation system that most people don't even know. You can modify posts, you can get feed to posts, you can get feed to comments. Not that you would use all those, but we've done some pretty evil things with comment feeds, especially when you're using a comment page maker that turns comments into pages. I use those in WR2s, WR3s. Those can be turned into feeds. You can hammer the crap out of them on the ping networks. I mean, there's just so much you can do when you understand feeds and where not to do it. Right? The point is, I'm not telling you to do those, but these are ideas, so you know why you would want to know where these things are. Know your WordPress. Know you can even create custom feeds in WordPress based on keywords if you want. You don't even have to go to the category. So this is WordPress skill sets. But it's really cool. You can make an RSS feed tied to a keyword and pull it out with a little alteration of the code. Okay? So know where both of your feeds are. If you have a money site, is different. You're not on a blogs. You're on a regular site. Do you have a feed? You guys made one?
Yeah.
Magenta sites have got feeds all over the
Yep.
place. Every category, every subcategory, they've all got feeds.
Yep, they're WordPress imitating almost verbatim. They have all of that stuff.
And if you have multiple blogs, then obviously you're going to have yep.
Yeah. You know thy feeds?
Yes.
You know where your feeds? You got it. You know yours, right? You've done this. Everybody knows his feeds. You know yours? I don't know. So take your RSS out. So what you're looking for through this network, and after a few times when you become obsessed with learning this stuff, you'll realize kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for the male end and the female end. You're looking for places to stick your feeds where you get stuff back in return. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. People seem to remember it when I say it that way. A feed spitting out of a platform of any kind is a male end. A feed coming in so that it can be taken and be made into something is a female end. It's just like carpentry or anything else like that, plumbing. It's helpful to remember it because you start immediately looking for social media platforms, which we're going to talk after. There's only 2 platforms that I can really recommend for backlinking that are automated. One of them is Onlywire and one's Pipeline. And they both do brilliant jobs of getting you page rank 1 and 2 on 100% automation within a contained cost parameter monthly. I love that because then I can do my numbers. So it's really kind of cool. Also, Domain with Studio is going to have a 1 feed out. It's got it already, So it already does. So if you put all your content through, we create a unique feed of everything. And you can just, hammer the crap out of that on the ping networks. That costs nothing. And if you're really crazy, you could even backlink that stuff.
You should backlink that stuff.
So you can do
In fact, that's a great feed to throw into Link Emperor.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it's all third-party stuff.
Yeah. Link Emperor has a feed in, right?
I think so.
No,
It should.
it doesn't.
What about that thing?
Onlywire and Pipeline are the only ones that
That
currently
thing that
do.
you wrote, would that, no, that just pings
No,
individual
it's
things on the
sad.
feed.
That's one thing that, in my mind, like Link Emperor is awesome, and it's here because it's manual. That means that for the thousands of videos that I have every month going through my large video network, I can't use it.
So the only thing we can do is feed it into Onlywire.
Onlywire and Pipeline. Pipeline's better, actually.
Okay.
Way better.
Say pipeline.
Well, I'm going to show you both these, just, I promise. We won't leave here until you guys get all this, all right? Well, I mean, within reason.
No, they're going to get it all. They can't go.
YouTube RSS. Okay, I'm going to give you this location. If it's all on the glossary, themesandglossary.com, just type in RSS, or YouTube RSS, type in Twitter RSS, type in Pinterest RSS. I've given you the precise code in the wiki. That's where I stick this stuff for myself when I need to grab it really quick. Okay. Whoops. Twitter feed. I love Twitter feed. I have an affectionate relationship. Sue doesn't like it as much, but it's cool. We're running Twitter. Our outsourced team is running content from our own feeds directly into TweetAdder. We're experimenting with it because that's how we control large Twitter things. I'm currently not using that at all on my Twitter army. I'm using only Twitter feed, and I'm matching no more than a couple of Twitter accounts. In the early years, because of a lot of the rumors about how you can hammer a Twitter feed, I was actually separating. It was a one-to-one relationship, a Twitter account to a Bitly account to a Twitter. That got a little bit unruly, and I found out it wasn't really necessary on the WR3 networks. So I'm not as worried as I used to be. But it's really, what I love about Twitter feed is a simple little thing called the GUID. And if you want, we can talk about why that's cool. It just means that you don't have to have, you can actually start, the system will automatically grab things that are on the feed in random order, and it doesn't have to be time. It doesn't have to be the recent post. And I really like that. And there's other things you can do that with. Yahoo Pipes, I'm going to show you. It's all really prepared here. Yahoo Pipes allows you to do that. You just got to make sure to toggle down the GUID. So there's other ways of doing it. You've used Yahoo Pipes before? Okay, cool. So Twitter feed, Yahoo Pipes or Network Empire's pipes. I have a fantasy about Network Empire having a set of pipes that you can curate stuff and the rest, but it's going to be even better. We're just going to put all the feeds, every content that you add into the network will just come through one single feed. The advanced requirements, same stuff. Then you start moving into, again, RSS directories you can submit to. Okay, that just allows them, like Syndicate, Feedage, Demand Media took over one of them, I think Blog Logs. So these are places, we use RSS Submit. I do not have it on my computer here, but RSS Submit is great. You just take any feed or any number of feeds. I think there's a max of 50 you can put in it, but you can do a lot.
The Pro version, there's no max.
No max on the Pro version. Okay, well, I can tell you've been doing a lot more feeds than me. You can put a bunch of feeds in there and just click go and then go grab a cup of coffee and go on to other things. It will submit to the automatic RSS directories.
Do the automatic ones. It's not worth it to do the manual submissions.
No, we don't want to do the manual submissions. And we've actually played around. There's a plugin on RSS Submit, which is Robin Goods, the guy who we were just looking at in the last course. Top 55 blogs to submit, and they're just not that great. The return on investment, Sue and I looked at it, decided it's just, if you can outsource it and hand it to somebody, but the problem is a lot of them want backlinks. It's just not very useful. And the return on investment for this stuff is kind of diminishing. This is not where you're getting your serious power from, but it's something you definitely want to do. I didn't have Pingler on here, but I use Pingler API and a couple of other technologies. Samson we use for our one feed. We're going to be talking about that later. Samson's pretty cool. There's a new blog plugin out called PingFresh. Sue hasn't seen it yet, but it's just blown my mind. I'm using it now. It's even cooler than Samson. But
So say again what's called Ping?
I'll show it to you guys for sure. It's called PingFresh. I'm in love with it. I'm having an affair with this new plugin. It's just really cool because we'll show you Samson because Samson was created by this guy named Conrad. It was kind of a Warriors thing, so I really had it at arm's length for a while. But it does give some results. he's just creating a bunch of kind of lame backlinks through sites that are like Alexa type sites. But the cool thing is that it does create a feed out of it. And when we submit it to Lindexed and Linklicious, specifically Linklicious, it does give you some nominal effect, like backlinking your backlinks, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
They're not huge, but there's a tiebreaker effect that's happening from it. And so that's kind of cool. We'll talk about Samson. It's not very expensive. And it creates a feed of its own. It's a completely unique feed. And the feed is full of backlinks that are automatically created for your blog using pretty crappy sites, which are called, PHP. They're like these PHP Alexa sites. It's very minor, but it's going on with other things. Does all that automatically, and then you ping those to Pingler, and you get some activity happening from that. You'll see an increase on if you use Google Analytics, if that's your choice, you'll see an increase of RSS traffic under your campaigns section, which is kind of nice. This is not huge traffic like the numbers that you need for like your stuff, but these are tiebreakers, and there's some interesting stuff happening with it. Especially because the key point here is it can be automated.
Yep.
Okay, I do this. This is really important for me on my WR2, and a single one feed submission on my primary site is also very important. But I love the fact that these things are going on. This is just one of many automated backlink systems that we have found to be effective on your WR2 layer, buffered from your one. Okay. Twyla, I love Twyla. Twyla is,
That was great.
yeah, it's a husband and wife team and created a software platform. They had a great idea. They realized that Twitter is an amazing place, an amazing resource of what you look like as a web page. Because Twitter is just really the stream of tweets, right? You don't really, what I love about it is that if you've had 100 posts or greater and you're a real site and you pass, they let you in, you just simply add the app, and it turns all of the tweets that you've ever done, or at least the last 200, into pages. So you'll have twyla.com/themezoom. All right, I'm happy to show you what that looks like. And what I love about it is before I show you, I'm thinking what have I tweeted the last few days? Because it's going to be immediately exposed. So if I'm sitting there on the toilet and I've tweeted myself, it's right there. And it's just that's what I love about it, is it shows how unthematically related Twitter is. And it allows you to use Twitter accounts as a thematically related site instantly with no work. And it's free. I try to add Twyla as the bottom baseline bucket capturing system for all of my Twitter army. My challenge has been, Kim, who owns the company, and her staff is pretty good at recognizing how new something is. So I recommend having 200 tweets or more, which is a pain because when I set up an auto blog, I want it to be done and just instantly. Can't do that with them. If you open a Twitter account at the same time that you open an auto blog, she's not going to let you in. And you have to put a time cron in your business process to remember that your outsourced team should come back and add it later. The reason I like to add it is because it will get your tweets indexed, which turns them into backlinks. And it's a whole lot easier than building a whole blog just to ping your Twitter army, which I did do also as an experiment. But so if you don't have time for that WR3 stuff and mess around, just do Twyla. Definitely do Twyla for your own personal account, and then look at it for the first time. Spend 5 or 10 minutes when Twyla turns your tweets into a blog, and notice how thematically unrelated you are.
So I want to say this while we're on the subject of Twyla. In your WR2 ring, I said you got to take each silo in your WR1 money site and turn that into a blog on your WR2. You want to take that, put it through a Twitter account that's got a persona associated, right? So that persona's Twitter account should go to Twyla because it's going to be exceptionally thematically related.
Correct. And to take it one step further, Twyla is going to using semantic natural language processing, they're going to attempt to decide your silos for you. They actually try to silo Twyla. You have the option to move the categories around or get rid of them. I actually had a PageRank 1 or 2 for one of my Twyla silos. To me, that's just the funniest thing in the world. And it didn't last. It came from a viral thing that happened. I actually had Twyla post embedded on Scoop It, and it just got hammered. And here I am, a free site built out of tweets with a PageRank 2. It's just hilarious. I mean, you just got to look at it. Literally, it's like flipping the whole network on its head. Twyla is the lowest common. You can't go any further than that, unless you turn it into a feed. But she won't do that. She won't give us a feed for Twyla. That would be kind of redundant. But anyway, point being, you can make your own silos. You can change the silo name. make your silos on Twyla match your website. Don't spend a lot of time with this, but it's kind of fun and cool. We're just trying to show you the patterns. The patterns are you can theme match everything downstream, even automating stuff. You can theme match. Okay.
Make it match the site where it's coming from, or to.
Well, you want to. What your focus is. Your Twyla focused persona will probably be focused on your WR1 if it's your WR1, right? So match the silos that you're pointing to. So your money site. If your categories are quick, somebody give me some categories. For me, it's going to be.
Dumpster rental.
Can't take you anywhere. Keyword research, market research, whatever that is. You can just move those around on the Twyla account. In fact, I think I need to do some work on my Twyla thing, but anyway. All right, super advanced. Jeez, I must have been up late. Real-time industry news requirements, professional real-time curation, story crafting, flipping, SEO syndication. So what I'm really talking about here, you can add things if you want. These are the original points. Like Storify would really be a WRS1. It's really a type of beginning point for content. You can take the content from your blog, you can flip the story or truncate it and put it on Storify. I don't know why this is the case, and I don't know how long it will be, but you just get traffic from Storify. Not in every market, but you just do. I think because they have this massive syndication network, and they do have an RSS feed, you can just grab the Storify RSS feed and you can do stuff with that. Okay, I know that Storify is a no-follow, but it still gets traffic and it still is helpful, especially in markets where there's a lot of buzz or story. You use Storify if you're good at finding that gray area, where we discussed. If you can just really quickly zoom in on a controversy, flip it, give your insight, push it through, or the blog boost that we have, we include Storify automatically for you, so you don't have to think about it, or your clients. We will process everything we're doing, we can do for you. Everything we're showing you. Just put the black box price up and sell it, and we'll do it.
Yep.
Okay. Scoop it, same thing. A little secret here for curators only, not necessary for automation, if you have a 100% automated network. Storify nests beautifully in Scoop it. It just looks good, and so you get double clicks, and some weird PageRank stuff starts to happen. I've got a PageRank 3 on one of the Scoop it pages. You get 12 free pages, and for some reason, the iframe and I think it's called Twitter framework, was written, Storify is written in Twitter framework. You can just scoop the story and embed it in Scoop it, and you can get some double traffic. You'll get traffic to Storify from Scoop it, and you get traffic from Scoop it to Storify, and vice versa. It's just kind of a nice trick. If you're into curating, that's a really great thing to do. Flip your story, stay with the headline of the story, then curate it, and then you get some real buzz. Posterous, toast, so ignore this. It was such a great service. I'm still right now trying to figure out how to get rid of my spaces in there. I even have a space on there for one of my clients with a PageRank 1. So, no big deal. It does have an RSS out, but it's history. Twitter bought it. It's too threatening to them. All right, Google++. Google+, obviously. We have a course on that. And you can automate your content in to Google+ through Hootsuite and through Onlywire. Those are Hootsuite only provides content in. I'm talking directly from your blog via feeds. Remember, I only talk about feeds here for the most part. That means that you set it and forget it once. If you've got a blog, you just take it over to Hootsuite. First you make the biz page in Google+. They only do biz pages because that's official. Google's official policy is no direct RSS into Google+ personal. All right, Onlywire does it anyways. You're going to have to give Onlywire your username and password if you want them to do that. Then you just provide the feed, and then it goes through. Okay, so your WR1 network, you got to decide whether you want to get Onlywire your username and password. It's true for the other plugins. We were using a plugin for a while, which I think is still in the members area. It's a plugin for the blog. We know the creators, Kennedy and the rest, and it just doesn't work. I got to get out and push. I got to get out and kick it.
Every few days it stops working and you got to kick it.
Well, she told me it would do, and then she told me not to talk about it, and then I put it in there, and then it stopped working. Okay. Well, you know, part of the reason it breaks is just the internal cron. It's the WordPress internal cron. It's a serious pain in the ass. This is why I like software like PingFresh that has an external cron, so you can control the cron and the site's not going to break. Okay. Twyla, you're not limited to a single Twyla Twitter combination. Think Twitter Army with this stuff, and you can get a little extra reach. Outsource that. Don't do it yourself. And all of a sudden, the pages get indexed. It's really nice. It's a really, if you're willing to go back and do that, those Twitter accounts will be indexed and give you a little bit of backlink juice. We're thinking, you know, large scale here, like mass backlink animation, just little increments pointing back to your stuff. Okay. Quora is fun, but again, Quora should be viewed more as an origin point. I have fun with Quora, and I've done several experiments. I just want it to be on your radar. I get high quality traffic from Quora. There's a course we have about Quora inception. It's high quality because people there are asking direct questions. They're following it. It's a social network. It can be bad quality in some markets. We've got very bad quality, but garbage in, garbage out. If you put bad quality in, you get bad relationships out. If you're just using it to link spam, you're going to get people who get ticked and they're going to vote your Quora thing down. Okay? So that's one of the things that you should just know. And whenever you put an entry in Quora, add a video, add an image, 99.9% of the people in Quora do not add those. Remember, the eyes have it. The first thing they see in any of the answers to any of these questions is a video that you've inserted from your own YouTube channel. Then you have a YouTube channel nested inside Quora with a high quality response that you might even already have had. Sometimes you're already answering questions on your blog that you can just literally truncate one paragraph and curate in 25 seconds over to a question that they're already asking. So you've written the article, or sometimes we'll just take the Quora questions and write blog posts out of them. And then you've got two birds with one stone. I take a video answer of the question that they've asked in Quora. I show them how to do something, post it on my blog, upload it to YouTube, post the YouTube on my blog, post the YouTube in Quora, give them an answer, interesting but incomplete, put 2 links in Quora back to the blog post, and then I get traffic. Okay? And then that blog post is thematically related. Quora is a no-follow. But you know what? You're getting really high quality traffic from Quora. There's all kinds of addiction stuff in there too, you know. So I don't know what the rules are. May not work in your market, but it's a lot of fun. I have not been able to work effectively with the Quora RSS. So when I wrote this, I was less focused about getting the RSS feed. So don't view this as, if one of you finds the RSS feed having finally been fixed, let me know. But there is an RSS feed, but it's for topics. I currently have not created a method. Sue probably will. I have not created a method to create content with it, but it would probably be excellent for the WR2. Problem is that you have to pretty much be logged in. And you want to avoid those kinds of, you know, even the big networks do interesting but incomplete. Log in or you can't see the content, right? So we're looking at this. Okay, that was for the Quora Crusher course. I guess that was it. That really wasn't very much. So move on to the next part inside the area here.
So I'm going to make sure that all of you guys have access to the One Feed course, if you haven't already gone through the course. I've got new videos going in there that our outsource person who does our One Feeds regularly, he's gone through and just laid out, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. It's very short and sweet. And we've got the spreadsheets in there as well, so that you can follow along and you can make copies of those and just do them for, and I do them for everything, right? Like do them for your blogs, do the One Feeds on your Scoop It and on your Storify and on your G+, and just everything, like cover all the bases. If you're going to do them yourselves or outsource it inexpensively, it's worth it for all of your WRS1 sites and your money blogs, all of your blogs.
This is the YouTube feed that you want to use. And you can just go to the glossary, ignore this URL, go to themezoomglossary.com and then type in YouTube feed. Okay, and it's kind of a long one, but this is the one that you want to use. You're just going to put your own profile in there. That's going to be to your WR1 channel. If you're doing advanced video blogs, then of course you can do these with your advanced video YouTube channels, but we'll cover that at some other event. I could go on for 4 days about just how to do that. But the YouTube profile is here, okay? Here's the Twitter RSS feed. That's what it looks like. api.twitter.com. Just put your Twitter profile right here. And that's kind of cool if you're going to create Twitter blogs, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it, so especially your own. And if you really think about that, your blog can have its feed going out into your Twitter account, and then your Twitter account has a feed going out to where? Well, think about that. You can take all that Twitter RSS feed, you can put it in RSS submit, it can go out to the RSS directories for pinging. You can put it in the various softwares, including PingFresh or anything else where it'll get syndicated or indexed and get double pinged. So you're just really doing everything you can to tell the search engines that that content is there. I kind of have fun. Like, I don't expect you to ping all of your Twitter tweets, but for me it's kind of a game. If you can get your tweet pages indexed, you can get anything indexed. So that's what I deal with. We're currently trying different things. Like, we use linklicious.me and other things, and we have something like 1 million pages constantly in the process of being crawled, or more. And that's cool. I mean, honestly, you don't really need those indexing services if you're actually just paying stuff properly and if you think things through. You don't really have to buy that stuff. I just like to cover my butt, especially since some of it's automated, especially like the video blogs and the rest. I just want to make sure that they're getting crawled, in case. All right, so there's that. Also of note to some of your markets, Pinterest has a feed. It's pinterest.com, your Pinterest profile name here, /feed.rss. Okay? And that's kind of nice because then you have an image feed. And there's stuff that you can do. Sue will probably be talking to you some aspects of that. But,
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about creating aggregation sites that are tokenized and mosaic, and it's all about the value created by the context. Contextual value automation is the new automation of the future. People who can automate things that look like it was done by a human will rule the world. It's exciting stuff. It's where my passion is at. Because you want to know why, you have to know so much about how the brain works and what people find appealing. It's just really kind of interesting. Okay? All right. Everybody's familiar with, oh, I just shut it. That really sucks. Guess I wasn't meant to show you that one. Everybody familiar with pipes? Okay, I'm not going to get too much into it then. Pipes is really cool and really clunky. However, in a pinch, it's useful, and it allows you to drag stuff around the screen and mix and match multiple feeds into a single feed. This is how you would make a one feed if you wanted to. Okay. Another service that you can do one feed with is called FeedBlitz, and FeedBurner doesn't allow it. Let me just show you FeedBurner. That's what I closed on accident. Anybody not familiar with FeedBurner here?
What is the status with FeedBurner? Is it on or is it off?
It's on. It's the same as it always was. Nobody knows exactly what the status of FeedBurner is. Yeah, FeedBurner has some cool features in it, and there's things that you can do for pinging. It's got ping shot in it. Ping shot's is unique because feeds don't automatically verify, and whether a feed is really communicating or updating is dependent upon the technology feed side. And they have something called ping shot, which you can activate, which makes sure that the services know that are updating your feed that it's there. So it's a push. Generally, feeds can be pull most of the time, but this also gives you a little bit of a, hey, service, Russell has a new post on his RSS feed. Russell has a new post on this. So they'll try to actually actively tell. All of this will be replaced by PubSub. Probably by 2015, RSS feeds will be gone for this type of stuff. But when that happens, we'll prepare you and turn everything on to PubSub. Is everyone familiar with PubSub? Okay. Does anybody care?
That's like one of Sue's words.
No, it's actually, like, you're going to be a thought leader. It's helpful to know about. I mean, it takes the whole RSS. That thing that I just said where ping shot, it has to be active in order to tell the service. Otherwise, the service has to pull that new data and check it. Like FeedBurner has to check for this feed. PubSub will remove all of that. That takes up a huge amount of bandwidth. I mean, this is why FeedBurner will go away when PubSub is active. Google has purchased a huge share in PubSub. PubSub is a system that talks about, should probably just show you the video. It's very, very funny. He explains it, made to stick. Anybody interested in what's replacing RSS feeds? Okay. Yeah, notice that this is on a Google website. Code.google.com. Pay close attention to that. No. No. Really? Get ready, guys. This is coming.
Hey, I'm Brad Patrick, and we're here today to tell you about a project called PubSub. It's kind of a dorky name, but it's really a fun, simple, and useful technology. We often just call it Hubbub for short. So, what does it do? Well, it's an open protocol for turning Atom and RSS feeds into real-time streams. That sounds a little dorky, so why don't you consider this contrived metaphor instead? Let's say you're going on a long road trip, and the people in the back seat are asking, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" No, not yet. As lame as that is, that's actually how internet servers talk to each other nowadays. They say, "Do you have anything new for me? Do you have anything new for me?" That's called bullet. And although it works, it's slow and inefficient, and about as annoying as the person in the back seat asking, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there
That's
yet?"
a fact.
The alternative is called push. It's when the origin publishers actually tell all of the interested subscribers when there actually is something new. Let's see that in action. On the right is a microblog that's serving an Atom feed. Here you can see the entries and a link that declares that this feed is real time. On the left is a web application with an AJAX connection to the server. Let me post a new update. And look, there it is. It's received by this other web application within a second. These are two completely separate sites communicating in real time through a hub. Consider you're a publisher and you're writing in your journal. Naturally, people are interested in what you're writing, and they want to know when you have new content. To find out about it, they need to keep asking you if there's something new, because that's the only way they can get updates. This would be a considerable distraction, wasting time and effort. What if there were a better way? Instead, what if subscribers registered their interest so publishers could tell them when something is new? When I have something new, I can immediately send subscribers my updates. That way, the subscribers don't have to be so annoying, asking so often. Unfortunately, this is still complicated, and not all publishers would want to do this themselves, juggling the separate tasks of publishing and distributing content. So, even better, all publishers can have an assistant they delegate to. Here I have Brett, my faithful assistant. I'll have him take care of my bookkeeping. He'll keep track of my current fans and get them new content so I can just write in peace. When I have something new, I'll only give it to him, and he can distribute it to everyone else. In PubSub Hubbub terminology, Brett, my assistant, is what we call a hub. So we hope you enjoyed our cheesy demo. We hope you'll check out PubSub Hubbub yourself. You can start publishing and subscribing to real-time feeds using the protocol today. So give it a try. There are also plugins for many CMSs out there, and more on
Yep, including WordPress, which I'm experimenting with right now. And you guys, things are going fast. So what are we really looking at here? I'm telling you this because there's push and there's pull. RSS was invented because of the need to pull content so that people could subscribe to you. I'm subscribed to your Facebook news stream, right? Friends now can subscribe to you. I mean, how weird is that? Okay, but what's interesting about it is when you look at Yahoo Pipes or anything else like this, this is old school. We're going to look back at this and laugh, because what happens is FeedBurner, if you activate Ping Shot, it will try to push that new content from all your feeds to those locations, but it's constantly hammering on the locations that it's trying to push to. That takes up server resources, it slows down bandwidth, and you don't really start noticing that kind of stuff server side, but you do notice on your blog if you got a lot of RSS stuff like Samson or PingFresh or all these. And so you just really don't want that. Okay, so that gives you a little idea of RSS, where it is now, but where it's going is PubSub. Nothing will really change with these principles, except you'll just use a different kind of technology. Your experience of this change will probably be nothing except the change of a name, because it just means that the servers aren't going to get hammered as much. And if they're PubSub qualified, then you'll use it instead of RSS. Does that make sense? Excellent. Okay, let's just recenter for a second and think about where we are. So when we're talking about push, right? What are we talking about? Ground zero content. Pushing all your content everywhere and sticking it anywhere for it to be pushed that will let you. Putting your content virally out there on the web, okay? Creating the platforms even, if you need to, where that content's going to syndicate. Making sure they're thematically related. Making sure that there's RSS keywords involved. Making sure that your keywords are submitted to the directories for keyword activation. That's really all there is to it. And when you understand that it's just about doing it in the right successive order, at that point you're just keeping a track of a list of all the places that you're pushing to. Those are called your feeds. I showed you the Twitter feed, I showed you the Pinterest feed, I showed you the YouTube feed. Those feeds are you communicating everywhere all the time right now. It's only a matter of how many people you can get subscribed to that or how many locations you can thread that to, including the creation of content. You can use things like, here's a very old, here's a WR. This is the internal dashboard of a WR3. It's way out on the outer ring. It's an experimental thing. It threads all of my Twitter accounts through it on one Twitter army of about 15 wide. I use something called Autoblogged. An example of what you can do to generate content out of thin air by aggregation is simply insert your RS feeds, and you can set up the blog and manipulate the style sheet around. And if you wanted to, you can do anything you want. You can pull in any kind of feed from anywhere and publish it on your blog as a post. I happen to combine this with the Drudge theme, and the Drudge theme will then, depending upon how you want to set up the style sheet, you can publish any of your content from anywhere upstream to the blog in any location. And there's a lot of software that Sue is creating that's working right now. We do this on a variety of platforms, not just WordPress. You can do this on Joomla, you can do this on HTML. We have some technology she's using to do that. So it's just about aggregating into a context using feeds. But I show you this plugin because it's probably something you want to put note. Autoblogged is complicated. It takes about half an hour to learn, and it's still really cool. There's things that you can do. I just want you to know that it's out there. I definitely approve of this software because it's really stable.
Does that go on what ring 3?
This is way out in the outer ring. This is an experimental quarantine site that I'm trying to ping all my Twitter accounts through. So I'm not even showing the front of it. I'm just in the dashboard. Okay. So you can process these feeds. They'll feed automatically. And you just start, the Drudge theme is really great for just getting all your other stuff indexed. I like the Drudge theme for people too, but I haven't played a lot with conversion. It's really good for AdSense. Drudge theme is working well for AdSense because of the way they place the things. And it's a news feed, so it's constantly being updated. So the Drudge theme is really fun to have in your arsenal if you get a chance. It's expensive, but it's worth having around for WR3s and some WR2s. I'm going to be working more and more building an army of WR2 Drudge theme sites to balance off the video networks. And what's really cool is I like to thread the video feeds from my automatic video blogs through the Drudge theme as a link. So then you have the headlines. Then you just call it a video site or a video directory. So you're creating content and value out of thin air when you provide an overview context. I like overview context themes for directories because people can look out. Sue's also built a directory. I think we showed you
marketing firms.
That's a whole nother type of thing. It's not a video Pinterest blog. It's not a Drudge theme, shock and awe, data overwhelm blog, which I like, or a news overwhelm blog. It's literally a directory. It's more advanced. We played around with it a lot. It's still working the bugs out, but that just gives you another idea, the kind of secondary content you can create. Okay.
How many of you guys would be interested in building directories out? Okay.
So the question you have to ask yourself, is it necessary to put your RSS feed into FeedBurner before you put it into your other locations? I would suggest that you play around and experiment with both. I have less and less appeal with FeedBurner for a couple of different reasons. There's another service that I like. It's called feedblitz.com. And it depends on how you're using it. And, like we said, you missed the talk on PubSub, but PubSub is going to replace all this anyways. Not everything, but we'll watch a change over. I'm playing around with PubSub plugins right now as a replacement, and it kind of excites me. It takes away out of the weight.
Yeah, I find feed blitz to not be terribly stable. They can go down sometimes for a really long time.
It's sad. Yeah, it's sad. I'm still going to sign off on feed blitz. Just don't use it for your WR1.
Yeah.
FeedBurner, I think, is still more stable. FeedBurner was designed for you to add as an RSS feed on your blog for people to subscribe to. And so I would still go for, FeedBlitz was a great idea. It was designed to have a nice user interface, but very few people subscribe to feeds anymore in non-technical industries. They do subscribe in, technical industries. So it just depends on your market, and, FeedBurner is really a choice that you can make. I go ahead and burn a FeedBurner thing for the feeds when I'm submitting them through the one feed. I know that's part of our one feed process. So it's really up to you and how you want to use it.
Just say again, why did you say feed blitz is not good for WR1?
Well, we've noticed he's been having some problems with the server, and he'll go down during peak hours. I can't have that. He's the only one who's trying to compete with FeedBurner. I've talked to his name is Phil. I've talked to him a few times, and he's even got a FeedBurner evacuation kit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how he operates. But he's got to do a lot better if he's going to have people evacuating to him. So we're annoyed because we like uptime. We like 100% uptime. Right? So, but it's just not there. But I still like FeedBlitz, and the first one web ring I built in it. The reason I give the distinction between FeedBurner, FeedBlitz is you can actually splice feeds in FeedBlitz. You don't need pipes. So it's a huge distinction. You can take 20 feeds, turn them into one feed, and mix them right in FeedBlitz and still syndicate it out. It'll mix those feeds, and then you can send them out to RSS, submit RSS. Make sense? Do we need a break? It's only been an hour.
It's been 10 minutes.
Let's talk a little bit about the main automatic services that create actual backlinks with more and more diminishing return, but still some effect on your downstream articles, such as automatically. That's going to be Onlywire, okay, and Link Pipeline. These are the only two I'm currently recommending. Link Emperor is awesome as well. I just don't believe that there's a feed in, sadly. If I'm wrong, please let me know so I can change the category. I hold them in two categories. I hold them into female in other words, stuff I can put RSS in and get backlinks to individual articles, versus stuff I have to manually do upstream. And I don't mind manual as long as I know what's going on. Social, Onlywire is an interesting mixed bag of caution. I have a service that I've used effectively. Sue hasn't signed off on it, but I'll leave you my notes. She has her stuff where you can actually get all your Onlywire accounts made and built out really nicely with a nice profile and everything. I think it costs 15, but it's like 3 fiber gigs or 4 fiber gigs. Did a great job. They're constantly coming up. Just always inspect the work. He sends you a list of all the files that he made. I personally like the Onlywire Master Enterprise account. Here's the reason why. If I have 50 video blogs, it's a double-edged sword. Really know your numbers about what you're selling a site for, what you're leasing a site for, how it operates, how much it's going to cost you, what your IT debt is. Make money before you get into heavy backlinking first. Okay, but the reason I like it is the way that I'm doing it is every one of my video blogs or any of the other blogs that starts making money because of the traffic it's driving back to the video site, and then I'm willing to spend a little bit of money on backlinks, but I want that to be 100% automated. I just don't have time to manage backlinks to WR2 blogs. I just don't care enough. They're going to drive traffic anyway. Video blogs create massive traffic even without, backlinking. All right. So, and sometimes it's a short spurt because of one viral idea or whatever. But then you just keep moving. Okay. But when you start hitting Onlywire, the reason I like Onlywire is because in the enterprise account you can create a unique user for every blog theme, and even better, you can do a unique user for every client. Conversely. Okay, so watch your numbers really closely, because what the beauty of Onlywire, which I try to get Syn to help us with, is like, you can just go to do not use the Onlywire plugin for your blog ever. This is really bad, my personal opinion. Just go right to posts and under feeds. And you can take your one feed, drill them all if you want. You can just do one. Here's the downside warning of Onlywire. They make their money through mass pinging. They do not give you a throttle. I can't set a drip. You have to sit your drip upstream from the blog. So you got to make sure that your RSS feed is posting a certain amount. There's two ways you can do that. You can either install a plugin that creates a drip throttle, or you can just not drip out articles. You can do a publishing schedule. I know on your thing it'll probably be easy to do that. Your, what's it called, pod. The other thing is you can install a script on the config.php file that prevents it from hammering. Sometimes I have hundreds of videos per day. I got to really throttle back because you can use up your whole Onlywire financial in like 3 afternoons. So you want to have a nice balanced throttle. It's all automated downstream. It's going to be pinging these. I get a PageRank 1 in 30 days after this, even on a site that I just started. So, you know. And if I ever stop this, it's gone. It's about as best you can do. So there's also, take a look at this one. I'll be putting updates and reports and numbers there. I'm very excited about it. Link pipeline, it gives you far more bang for your buck, and it's the exact same accounts. I mean, I think they're positioned to take over, and there's an RSS feed just like it. You get 300,000 URL posts instead, and it's ranking faster. I was in a mastermind group with a couple of guys, and see, I love it because there's the female RSS in. I can push content to it. It's going to get those backlinks. I can set up the profiles. The profiles always match the profile that I set up upstream for the video or whatever, and then you know, I'm hoping maybe I can get a PageRank 2 in automation. So that's, I'd be fine with 1,000 PageRank 2 sites to start, but I'm just for that type, just for the blog environment. For other things, I'm hoping to get PageRank 4s and directories and these other things on the secondary network. So that's where I'm at with it. Keep in mind that this is under testing, so if you want to wait until I publish a report, then you can. Okay, so what would we have accomplished by doing that? We would have taken all of the list of feeds from your WR1 and from your WRS1. That list can be turned into one giant feed using what? If you wanted to, using Yahoo Pipes or FeedBlitz. And if you don't like either one of those, and also looking at the Domain Web Studio suite, when you're publishing content directly through those, Domain Web Studio is creating a one feed for you. That's why we're doing that. I would prefer that because these services all kind of blow. All right. So you really just want to try to start taking it in-house and start centralizing it in a central mainframe. So I've given you the manual way, and I've given you the way that we're creating for you. Hopefully that makes things clear. Then what happens is then you start building, by this time, the way that it would look for you is you've got a great site, great product, you're finding a way to machine gun content at your own speed, on your own schedule that's appropriate for your business, either curation, video curation, real news times creation, or great article writing, whatever it is you're doing. You know, presuming you've got your regular website up with the main content, the perma content. These are the big ideas, your company shingle, your company silo, your silo website. So you've got those. Then you've got all the social media feeds that do have a social media feed that you've decided to select. Those feeds are all put together in either one single feed and or all of them together. You know, you just have a list so for when you need them. Then you start building out your outer ring. And you do a couple of things. You can either do video, you can do a site where you do remix using the Autoblog plugin I showed you and the Grudge theme, and many are the ways to create aggregate RSS sites. It's work, all right, to create aggregate RSS sites. This is why we're setting that up for you. But once you do it, all the content that you're constantly churning is flowing downstream into new unique platforms, which are, because they're blogs, especially the blogs I like because they're actually reformulating content, and they too can be syndicated with backlinks. As long as you're watching your numbers, you have quite an affordable automatic PageRank, traffic, and downstream content system. It's crazy, all right? Without spending millions of dollars. In fact, you can control or throttle the budget based on the backlinks. That's what's so great about Onlywire and other services like that. It's not great linking, but it's not what we're using it for. We're just using it to give you a little extra kick. When you turn on Samson in the blogs, all of them at the same time, then you got even another extra kick of all these crazy bad backlinks. that are tiebreakers, but they're also getting indexed as well. You get your Twitter accounts indexed, getting your Pinterest accounts indexed, and then you're using automatic traffic. And then you get advanced. Once you have that done, then you can start adding followers to those accounts. You'll take a Fiverr gig for Twitter on your WR2s. This is assuming you have your WR1 Twitter followers already. Be careful about adding Twitter followers to your primary Twitter account. Just get real people if you're uncomfortable with it. But you can definitely add Twitter followers after all these feeds are together. Make sense? Then make sure all these feeds are submitted to RSS submit. And that's really the only software we're recommending at this time. There are other ones. There's another cheap one, but I haven't used it. And or you can get the one feed from us, and we do all of it for you. It's another way of doing it. You can outsource this whole thing and just sell it like crazy if you want. People like the product. Okay, so that's probably a general overview of the one feed system.
Cool.
I have something I wanted to present as a bonus to them as well, which is the bounce rate
Okay.
issue. I just want to really make sure everybody has that.
Okay.
Here's a picture of a client's website, Underwood Gardens. He's an heirloom seed distributor in Prescott, very well known internationally. He came to me and he said, "Why? I know that I have more engagement." Yeah. Here was his bounce rate the day before I added the bounce rate code to every page on his site. Here's what happened the very next day. He called me off with the phone screaming, like trying to throw money at me and wanting to come over and drink beer and like take over his internet empire, which I am. But my point here is this was a simple script that Chris gave me. And when we talked about it, it was really cool. I couldn't believe that it was working, but it does. I've done this successfully to almost every blog and major site that I have. It's a great way to communicate and assist a client. And it's a very easy code to add if you don't have a blog. You just add the HTML. So I'd like everybody to have it. Okay, and it does theoretically, I'll let you speak to this, but the theory is that it could affect rankings, the bounce rate, if the bounce rate is an algorithm. I don't see, right now I haven't noticed any huge exposure rate, but it could theoretically be a tiebreaker, and I don't really know. But it sure looks good, because what happened is that the bounce rate went down. Look at this is what he was so happy about. He's a prolific writer. His average visitor duration went to 13, no, actually, if you just take this time segment, his engagement rate went from 2.5 minutes to 23 minutes.
That's cool.
That means people are really reading his stuff because they're not hitting the back button. The only thing this script does is it tells Google Analytics that the back button does not exist, essentially. So when somebody hits the back button, they're not counting it as a bounce. So it's these little tiny things. When you have like 50 or 100 of them, they all start they all start to add up.
That's so black hat. Oh my God.
Now, we had that conversation already. There are no hats.
I mean, can I say something? My client did not.
I would be worried about that. At some point, they're going to catch that.
Nah.
That's
How are they gonna catch it?
It's impossible.
If Google sees you hit the SERPs page again, they're going to know where you're coming from. And that's what they're counting as a bounce or not. That's what really affects your rankings on the page,
Right.
not what your Google Analytics are telling you.
Yeah. No, this is good. This is a good thing because it's actually about engagement, and they have no right to count the back button as a bounce. I'm just saying. That's not. This is an example. This is an example of what white hat actually is. Even if they call it black hat, I'm saying it's white hat because it's about the engagement of my clients. When I talked to him about it, I made it really clear what I was doing. I explained the code. I explained why it does what it does. He was like, of course, well, why would they count the back button as a bounce? You know, so the bottom line is his engagement went up, and it confirmed what he knew about his writing. He's a former nuclear physicist that's invented a new process to maintain the integrity of heirloom seeds. He's a writer, he has visitors from all over the world, and he was like, 3 minutes? What? No, my articles are this long. She's writing like 2-page articles, there's no way. You know, he was like disappointed. Maybe I should write shorter articles. That's a different topic. He should. Interesting but incomplete. That's the next lesson for him. And he's working on it because people love his stuff. But it did help him out when the bounce rate went from 3 minutes to 23. He's like, I knew I wasn't that boring. So anyway, that could be something. I'll leave it up to you if you want to install it. It's up to you.
What's the name of it?
It's called It's not available to the public. It was privately coded by Chris Ornstein's friend.
How significant is bounce rate?
Well, that's what we were just talking about.
As a factor for ranking?
I don't think we really know.
It does affect it.
It does. If
I mean, have you had sites where it just shots up because of this or?
Well, it's not like a huge thing,
Yeah,
but there is some evidence that the exposure rate goes up. And I would have to have Sue like pour up the data, Matt. Okay, I could show you guys the. I don't want to get into it here because I don't want to expose all this data right now. I just don't feel comfortable with it.
Sure.
But I haven't seen anything that just jumps out at me and says, "Oh my God, I'm on page 1." But I haven't analyzed it for tiebreakers because that's granular. But I'm willing to do that. What I tell my client is that it does affect ranking, and they believe me.
And Melissa kindly put this in the download area.
No, but I will hand it to you guys.
how about the certification area?
Yeah, certification
Download?
area for sure.
Okay.
No problem. As long as you don't pass it around, because it's just, okay. Chris gave me permission to give it.
Things quiet.
Yeah. It's a good thing, guys. It's a real good thing. Yeah. Okay, cool. I don't know that we've taken any break since lunch.
No, we haven't. We should take a break.
Can we please take a break?
Yeah.
Right, guys, just in this session, I just want to have a chat with you guys about IT debt, define it, and then maybe answer some questions or things you've actually would like to know about the technical infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. One of the main reasons, well, one of the burning reasons for creating DWS when we built the suite was to actually keep control of cost, to actually get a good idea of what are we actually spending when we're actually working through a project or a process. And when soon I started building the algorithms to actually calculate the I remember we just finished writing the algorithm that calculates the whole promotional plan. And I was like, on Skype, Sue, I need to speak to you. She's like, what? I says, this is damn hard work. What do you mean? There's like 20,000 steps I have to do, or tasks I have to do. And I was like, really, when we actually calculated it all out, when we mapped out all the steps that's involved in the entire promotion over a period of like, I think we're looking at big markers, 48 months. There were so many things and so many moving parts. That's when it became really clear of how much money people can actually stand to lose if they don't think about their whole plan up front and pay attention to where their audience is. So this is where IT debt comes into play, because a typical scenario would be this: a guy would build his website to get a blog, then Warrior Forum, PayPal, opens up his blog, 500 plugins. Oh, my blog is slow. He's not thought through the whole process, and he's killed his blog because he's got all this stuff in there and there's all these moving parts and all these kind of things. But the point is, he's spent all these it's only $35, it's only $35.
Yeah.
But 10 hits is $300 that's gone like that. And that probably happens in a day or a week. They get to the end of the month and the credit card's maxed out. They don't understand why they're not making money. But it's these actions that you take unconsciously, just the way it's so easy. It's like, it doesn't feel real, it's not money. You're not taking something and putting it over the counter. And online, that's where a lot of guys lose the money. They spend it before they got it, and then their site doesn't make money. So they paid for outsources, they paid for content or bought content, they're paying for hosting, they're paying for domains. They've heard about this greater days. They spend $200 on that piece of software that's going to do this. They've got 10 subscriptions to 10 different things. Before they know it, $600 to $1,000 is leaving their account every single month on subscriptions. But they don't have a solid plan to actually execute and use all this stuff. And that's what IT debt is. So after 3 or 4 months, let's just say you got $4,000 you've lost, but you still haven't got your site live yet.
Right.
So this is why we built the system, to keep you very, very focused. And this is why we're doing all this stuff. So when you come into the market, you've got a very clear, concise idea of what you're going to build. And then you can actually map, okay, that's going to cost me that there, content so much. You can actually see, right, okay, this is going to cost me $20,000 to build. I'm going to stretch this over 8 months. So much each month. And you stretch your project and you build your business. Now you've got a budget you can actually work with, and you can actually see, is the money I'm spending matching up with what's coming in? and you can address and fix the bottlenecks that are actually choking your business. Do you guys have any questions about this type of topic? Yes.
Maybe a little bit of a topic, but that's through the hosting.
Yeah.
That becomes quite a big expense. I'd like to hear your thoughts on hosting WR2s, WR3s on shared IPs versus dedicated IPs. I'd like to understand a little bit more about cloud hosting. What happens with IPs and cloud hosting?
Well, we've got Vinny there. Vinny, can you answer that one? That's your industry.
Yeah, you want me to get, I can go into this. It's not so much the IPs that you're worried about, it's the neighborhood that you're in.
Hold on, Vinny, can we put a mic on you?
Yeah, we need to. Can we record this?
Yeah, sure. If you want, I can get up and do it if you want.
I'll start with the first part of that question with the hosting. Let's make a scenario. If you've got a small business, you can get a VPS, a dedicated VPS for yourself, and it'll cost you $30 a month. That's a small expense, and you can host as many domains that you want. So you can essentially create your primary domain, and you can have multiple subdomains, each one holding its own blog, and you can buy IPs for $5 if you want an IP.
You can't anymore second it's more difficult for hosting providers to give you IPs.
Yeah, because you're not going to the right hosting providers. So to answer your questions, I'm a little ghetto here, but that's okay. So hosting, this is a part of the business that I've wrapped up, and I've been doing this for a very long time. I got into this business based on hosting, where I've had massive domains, have no idea what to do with them. We started to move into the domains, into that side of the business. So what we found out is there's a lot of factors that work for you or against you when it comes to IPs, shared, dedicated, VPSs, shared hosting, whatever it may be. What happens is it all comes down to the neighborhood you're in. It depends on who's in front of you and who's behind you. If you're sharing IPs, who's on your range. If you're doing high-level stuff, you best get good quality IPs from a good quality SEO web host. If you're doing what's that?
Do you know any?
I happen to own one. We created our product based on this exact process. We were making a lot of money with the SEO stuff. We had more IPs than we knew what to do with. We had customers asking about it. We're like, wait a second. And then all of a sudden we started getting more and more people who know me coming out constantly asking, can we have hosting? Can we have hosting? Can we have hosting? So we decided to do something for SEOs, and it's worked like a dream. And we've got lead gen guys with networks that are just massive on our IP space. But we control the IP space. We look at the people to see who is on the whole entire block. We keep the web reputation constantly being monitored to make sure the IP's reputation stays at a certain level. We constantly watch what neighborhoods or what's going on in the neighborhoods and what the people are doing in there. And that's something that you don't have to rely on a web host to do. You can start to get into that mindset yourself. And there's multiple ways to do that. And I can put together a small presentation or something like that to get you guys through how some of that is done. You can probably automate something pretty easily with. Yeah. I have tools for it, but I can't share them with you guys. But we could probably put a bot together with it. And you're basically, what you want to do with web hosts is you don't want to go out and buy cheap web hosting. It's like going out and buying a Ferrari with a freaking Hyundai engine. It makes no sense. Your money's being made in there and you don't want to skimp on that. And when you go for some of these hosts, you're skimping on it because you're going after cheap hosting and you're on a box with 500 or 1,000 other clients. And that really starts to hurt your rankings. And we've proven this. I actually have white papers that we've written on this, so we've proven how it really works. So as far as IPs go, yeah, that's not an issue. You never really have to kind of worry about that.
Let me ask you the specific thing about IPs. If I start linking back from one of my sites on W2, W3, and I link to multiple money sites out there.
Right.
Okay, I have the same IP link going to all these sites. Is that not a problem?
Oh, of course it would be. But actually, no. It depends on what the...
It'll be the IP of the WR2.
Yeah. It depends on the IP, and it depends on, are you linking to the same thematic stuff, or are you linking to totally separated stuff?
It's just theoretical that I'm asking right now.
Oh,
so there is a problem with linking multiple links from the same IP. That's the bottom.
Well, no, it comes down to how much you're linking.
Yeah.
It really comes down to the volume. I mean, every host out there shares IPs. They tell us we have to use IPs and we have to use them for multiple customers, unless you purchase single IPs for yourself. Every host out there does shared hosting, which means there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of clients could be on one IP. And that's what Google looks for. That's what Aaron says that you have to do based on the IP guidelines. So Google's not going to slap you for it.
Okay.
What they're going to do is, if they see an unnatural pattern, so like say you have a blog set up, right? And you're linking to 10 different money sites from that single blog, and none of them have anything to do with each other. There's a pattern there. There's a footprint that's being created, and yeah, you're gonna get nailed. I mean, it comes down to common sense, plain and simple. You know, you're creating the proper underlying stuff on your domains, self-referencing name servers, and I'm not sure if anybody knows what a lot of this stuff is. You buy a domain name, okay? When you create name servers for it, you create something called a self-referencing name server. Well, basically that is you take name server 1 or NS1, NS0, NS2, whatever you want to name it. You can name it anything you want, .thedomain.com, and then you put the IP address in there from your registrar, and it points directly to your server. What that does is it creates better authority on the domain. It shows Google that you're serious about your hosting and about your domains. Also, here's a biggie. Don't register your domains for 1 year. I know it's a hard thing to realize that would affect it, but it does. They actually look at the underlying data on the domains. So if you register domains and you're going to keep them for a little while, register them for 2 years. Register them for more years. If it's one of your money sites, 10 years, 5 years, register. It makes a huge difference. So these are all like little things that you need to always think about, because this is the one part of the business and nobody ever thinks about. And we've made a massive, massive push to fix all this stuff. And what we've done, what we've done with the IP side and the SEO side is we've created shared hosting and dedicated hosting. Our shared hosting, we only allow 10 clients on one IP. That's it. After 10 clients are done with the IP, we know that we're at that saturation level. We remove the IP from the pool, and then we assign the next ones. And this makes a massive difference because the hardware is not getting destroyed, the speed is much faster, and there's not so many people in your neighborhood, and we shape the neighborhoods that you're in. So it's a big, huge difference. So when it comes to this kind of stuff, you got to be very careful with your hosting. That's the only thing I can really say. You really have to be careful with the hosting, because it really is, it's as important as the domains that you buy.
Can you just add just a very short little description? What is cloud hosting and how does it differ from the traditional hosting that we know? Are there any challenges in cloud hosting?
Cloud hosting is so simple. Have you ever heard of a VPS,
Sure.
virtual private server? Cloud hosting. Do you ever see shared hosting? Cloud hosting. The only difference is what we've done now is we've made the networks more redundant. We've made them so that on a VPS or on shared, you're set a certain amount of resources. So if you buy a VPS, maybe you get 1 core, you get a gig or 2 of RAM, some disk space, and some power, bandwidth and stuff like that. Cloud hosting now, what we can do is we can scale you on demand. You can put in your throttles that you want and say, you're running a campaign tomorrow and you're expecting your traffic to double or triple. You don't have to come to us and say, I'm going to triple this. I got to make sure that I'm not going to hit my limits and all that kind of stuff. You go into your panel, you type in, I can burst to here. And when you run your campaign will scale all the way up to here. And then when you're done, it'll come right back down.
Okay, thank you.
That's about the best way I can explain it, you know. And then there's redundancy, that like there's SAN units and stuff that you can put in different places. But that's the best way to explain cloud hosting when I explain it to people.
Yeah,
So-
it's not like it just floats out there somewhere in the like Wi-Fi. It's nothing like that.
So rain does not affect it?
No.
But hosting, you know, hosting is something that everybody should look at as pretty damn important. You know, it's like the engine in your car. You really want to have the strongest thing possible. So, you know, if it's my hosting or if it's someone else's hosting, you really should ask those questions. Look at the neighborhoods, look at the web reputation, and there's some easy ways to do that, which I can give you the tools. They're free tools to look at. I could tell you the domains. And another huge thing to do is check your domains before you purchase them. Kind of simple, but it really is amazing how many times you're going to buy a domain that's been dropped by somebody else that they were doing bad stuff on.
But Google is quite good on re-including those if you ask them to.
How many people here know how to do that? Actually, even a better question, how many people here actually know how to tell if there's been a problem with the domain? That's, yeah, I would say it's really a few people. So what you need to do is check the domains way before you go to purchase them, because then you can tell if there's anything that's been done with it. And believe me, I know I've done it many times.
What's the best place to check them?
I'll give you the information afterwards, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give it to them.
So
you
from
can give it
what
out to
Vinny
you.
said here, if you think of the last few days we've been speaking about stackable systems. Things are getting stacked. Now we're coming to technical, we're starting to build. And this is where your IT debt starts, is because you're stacking on your servers. So you're buying your domain, you're getting your host, and there's your first stacks of cost. Then you can start building your sites, graphic designers, web designers, outsourcers. Then you got your content, that's the next stack of debt. And you're doing all this stuff to get the site live. So you're investing a fair whack of change just to get the site live. Then it's your plugins, or Magento, for example. Now you need a custom mod made for Magento. You're out of the pocket for 1 or 2 or 3 grand. If it's something fancy, up to 10 grand even. So these are the considerations you need to make when you actually speak to a client or look at a project yourself before you're going in, so you're actually aware of what it's going to take you to get it, how much you're investing, then project roughly, okay, what is the soonest time we're probably going to make a profit back? Because you're going to be carrying that debt, that IT debt, for a period of time, and then you have to start paying that off before you actually really make a profit. And these are the things guys don't think about. You get a lot of shops, I'm going to make a website. They build it up, nothing happens. They're paying hosting, they're paying this guy, they're paying this. And they just do it blindly. So, you guys, have you got any other questions about this type of stuff? Yeah.
What's your take on hiding the registration of the domains, or not making it public?
Don't hide it unless you're doing anything that you're worried about. But instead of putting your real details, sign up for a free account or create an account underneath your email that's webmaster at. Okay, and the reasoning why is they have bots out there, and the guys will go out and they will scrape your information and they will spam you. Proven it, we've done it we've actually set honeypots for these guys. Honeypots are traps. We've set honeypots for these guys, and they come through constantly. What they do is they try to get you to change your domain registrars or any of that stuff. So the only thing I could say is Ring Central is a fantastic for the US. I don't know how it works for you guys overseas. I'm sure you have other providers that can give you $5 a month phone numbers. And you have one of those guys set.
PO box or something like that, like a
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I use Ring Central here. I have about 60 or 70 phone numbers with them, toll-free numbers, and I use those for all my underlying information, and it dials right in to me, and it sends me a WAV file if someone calls or something like that. And it just keeps people from coming after your underlying data and stuff like that. It's just protecting yourself, basically.
Yeah.
And does Google, I mean, obviously, does like Google wants everything transparent, but obviously, if if they they're looking at a domain name that's been
Okay, so here, pretty simple. If they have a domain name that's been flagged, it stays in their system. Dropped or not dropped, it stays in their system. You're gonna have to do exactly what he said. You're gonna have to know that it's been slapped and then go to them and ask them to remove it. It's a process that could take some time to do. So don't even try to do it. You know, make sure that your domains are pretty decent domains. And you can look at the history. If anybody familiar with what whois is? Anybody know how to use whois? Okay, you have whois. And what you do is go to one of the whois servers and look at the domain name. And you could see how many times it's been registered in a certain amount of time. And you can get an idea of some of this different things. This is, I mean, it's a super important part because you could spend, and I've done it, so I know, I'm telling from experience, you could spend a lot of money, a lot of time setting everything up, beating your head against the wall going, why the hell is this thing not ranking? And the one thing that you never, ever, ever think about is there was a problem with the domain. And then you find out after 3, 4, 5, 6 months and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that you're never going to rank the damn domain. And you did everything the possibility you could to do it the right way, and the domain was the issue, the simplest piece of the whole entire puzzle. So that would be that for that. Yeah.
I use.
What's that?
What about even checking on the Wayback Machine?
And I mean, I could get into a whole conversation of how that can benefit the hell out of you, and maybe I should give them a little, I'll give you a little nice tip that would be fantastic for all of you. So there's drop domain auctions, okay? People forget to register or re-register domains on a consistent basis. You will find domains that have high PR and a lot of backlinks on them that people forget to re-register. So when it comes to the Wayback Machine and these domains, you search the domains, and there's tools. There's you can go to Afternic, GoDaddy has one, Snapnames is another one. I can give you guys a list of this. You can look at the domains that are expiring. You can see the backlinks that are in them. You can see what PR they were, and then you can put in a bid for one of them, and hopefully you get it snapped. That's all fine and dandy. As soon as that domain gets snapped and it changes underlying data, Google resets it. That sucks. That's where the Wayback Machine comes in. So what you do, as soon as the domain is snapped and you have it in your account, you go into the Wayback Machine, you look for the closest snapshots from before it was dropped. You then take the exact same data and put it on there, and then put it live. Put your stuff underneath, and then you own the dumpster market. But seriously, I mean, and that is a tip that's worth probably the price of admission here, because it works.
I've done it a few times because your link integrity stays.
It works.
If you get it up within that exchange period.
Well, once you bought it, you basically copy and paste it into Dreamweaver, that site.
Yeah.
You can even use the caching, and you save those pages. And you get the site structure back in place again. And then at least you keep the page rank and the original architecture is there. And that's where the concept of the bolt-on silo came. That's when I started doing it, was I would bolt the silo on the side, and I'd start pushing it off till my site's left where it was. Over a period of time, I'd start migrating, but squeezing that stuff out the way.
Would you be able to do a little webinar on that, explaining the process?
It's easy. You just go to Wayback Machine, copy, paste, put in the HTML page, and that's you done.
Yeah.
Alright, so you can actually
Any outsourcer.
You could even outsource it.
Any outsourcer can do it for you. Anybody. I mean, this is like, that's outsourcing 101.
Yeah.
That's outsourcing 101. And I mean, if you can, like, you know, if you get quite a few of them, you can just hit the outsourcers up. Or if you know that you're in auction for one of them and you want to even jump quicker, you can have them have it ready for you. So as soon as it's a process. As soon as the domain is in your hands, you need to get that thing up and live within a few days.
Yeah, you gotta be quick.
I would say a few hours if you could, but a few days, nothing more. Otherwise, that domain is going to drop, and you're going to lose that.
You saw when Sue spoke about the backlinks in the chart, what a page rank 4, page rank 5, or page rank 6 domain means to your site in relation to a page rank 1 or 2. So if you can get 1, 2, or 3 of these little sites just sitting there, and it's relative to your niche or tangent, very closely related or in the neighborhood, that backlink's worth a lot of money. And you just go. So especially if you're in a tough place and you're fighting a dogfight with someone, this is where you would go and invest into something like that. But you don't want to go pay someone $300 or $400 or $500 a month to hire a high PR, or rather just go buy the domain and own the thing.
Yeah. And another big thing that we do also is we pre-build. If you know you're building out a niche, your niche is going to take you quite a while to get research done, to get the blueprints done, to get WordPress set up, to get your plugins, to get your tweaks, to get your set, everything you need, content, all that. It's going to take you X amount of time to do, 2-3 months sometimes, right? So you go out, you buy your domains, drop them live, put the old page back onto it, and just let them sit there. Maybe throw a link at them, maybe throw an article at them, and so forth, and just let them sit there and stew. And just let them stew and let them stew and let them stew. And by the time you're done with your high level, these guys are all ready to bolt right onto it.
Yeah, they've settled and they've matured under your name. So these are things that you should think about. Like when you talk about IT debt, these are things that take time. It's your time to collect the information, the time to do the research. Everything costs you. It's nothing's for free on the web. So whether you're doing it or someone else is doing it, this is what's costing you. And these are the things you want to be very clear on. That's why your butcher paper is so important. Is this the best way to speak to the market? Like I spoke to Marcus yesterday when I drew the buying process. How do I position my network to capture these people at different points of where they're at? All those things. And then Russell spoke about the product, putting the product together. Russell told me when I first started working with him, early days, he says to me, 90% is the preparation, 10% is the actual execution. And it's at 90% that cost you.
Yeah.
So the more clear you are and the more focused you are on what you're doing, the cheaper it becomes when you actually go to production to produce. Because you know exactly what you want to do. Plus what you'll find is that the end result, you're going to get to it much quicker because you've got a clear action plan. So you're doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you're just running through the process, stacking everything up, and you're instructing people to do the same. So when you use leverage in a team, the team's clear on what they have to do, and the whole plan just moves forward very, very, very quickly.
I want to add something to what they just said about when you buy a domain and you put the data back and you let it sit. I wouldn't just let it sit like that anymore. We've got friends who have blog networks where they've put the data up and they've just let it sit way too long without any activity. So stick some feeds in there, stick some Twitter conversations in there, do some automation that'll get your content moving. You don't have to think about it. You can go back and work on your WR1, but that content's constantly changing. Google's seeing that there's activity on those pages.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I've been tracking a domain from last year, April, when they first started with Panda and all the zoo animals. I've just left this domain sitting there to see what happens with all these things. And what I've watched, it's not being updated and nothing's really happening on it. Every domain has a life cycle now because it's slowly just dropping and it's going down. It's deteriorating, but at a slow rate, it's actually dying.
Yep.
The site's dying. So it's not like before, it'll just sit there.
Right.
It's just actually, this is from April last year, I've been watching it. It's dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And I'm trying to see what is the cutoff point where it just goes whew, and falls the end of the earth and just disappears. So from April last year, it went from position number 50, it's sitting in like position number 700. So that's quite a descent. If you think of it, it's dropped quite a lot. Some of the keywords even just disappeared. They've just gone whew. So yeah, everything's got to be alive, eh?
Yeah, it's got to have some life to it.
yeah.
That's probably why that one plugin destroyed some of those guys' networks, because they can pick up the footprint on that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, the footprints, everybody knows what a footprint is, right? Everybody's familiarized with a footprint. You know what footprints are, right? So if you tend to use any kind of themes or anything that are pre-made, be aware that there's footprints inside of those. Now, it doesn't really matter because a lot of them are commercially available and a million people are using them. But if you use anything, especially if you download anything from a free site, they're gonna put a they're gonna put a footer, or they're gonna put a link back in there somewhere that's gonna be able to track you. And then they're either going to try to come in and hack your site, or you're going to eventually get footprinted and nailed. So just be aware that like you leave footprints a lot of places you go, and you need to be really aware. And that's where like that program that I had told you guys about, the Screaming Frog program, comes in. You can spider your sites, and you can look for specific footprints and stuff through there. Those are the biggest things with the domains and the hosting and all that kind of stuff, is those underlying issues. If you clear all that stuff up, you'll be in really good shape when it comes to that stuff. That's about the only thing I could say there.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to speak about is buying tools, and well, it sounds a bit ironic speaking to us, but when you buy all the tools, it's rather just learn and master 1 or 2 good tools that get the job done. We were speaking about this at lunch. Like, one of my favorite little tools is Scrapebox. I use it for all sorts of things. But that costs you a lot of money and also steals a lot of your time, because every time you buy a new tool, there's an educational process you've got to go through first to learn it. Then you've got to go through the testing process to try and figure out what it does, to see if it actually works. And then you've got the upfront cost you spent buying the actual tool. Be disciplined when you come to tools and stuff like that, because that's a major brain suck, and it steals a lot of your time, which costs you. That's also IT debt. In the call center, we always had the sales team coming. And it wasn't like buying a $50 or $200 tool. We're talking about guys wanting to buy Salesforce and big CMS tools. So we had to make a whole case. Why do you want this? We had to justify it, and then we had to look at the IT debt and how is this investment going to actually make profit for the company. So yeah, it's nice to have all the gadgets and all this kind of stuff, but do you actually really use them? If you go look at your computer, how many of the tools that you bought do you actually honestly use? So then what you do is just look back and think about how much money you've actually spent. That could actually end up being a holiday abroad somewhere.
It's kind of interesting that Scrapebox is your favorite tool.
Yeah, I love using it.
What do you do with it? Oh, it's great.
It's the greatest tool on
No, I don't. I don't even use the commenting features. I actually track people's websites. I scrape their websites and I follow their footprints they leave, and I find all.
It's a good tool for FAQs.
Yeah, you can put custom footprints in. If I want to find anything, I just put a different type of footprint and I find all the URLs where this is sit. Or if I'm analyzing a competitor, I put advanced search parameters in, and I can actually search through Yahoo. I can search through Bing. I can search through Google, and I can actually pull back all these places people are getting backlinks from, and it's fast. That's what I like about it. It's a really fast tool. I don't have to sit for 3. Soon I'll talk about one of the other tools. You want to pull backlinks, you wait 3 days to get the information back.
Yeah.
Because it's being courteous. I was like, I don't care. Just give me the information, and it just goes and just hammers through. That's just one of the tools I like using. I've got probably like 2 or 3 tools that I use consistently.
Something that everybody should have in their arsenal.
But
and there's another. Do you guys know about all the advanced menus in there and all the advanced plugins that go into Scrapebox?
Yeah.
Because there's some seriously good for rank tracking, to see if they're indexed. And there's a lot of stuff inside of there that's like you have to really kind of know it's there.
But with this tool, with Scrapebox, you can check the WHOIS information. So when looking for domains, you can actually go in. I take keywords from Kraken, right? I draw Kraken, and if I'm looking for EMDs, exact match domains, I take my list, I throw it into one of the plugins, and it goes and checks .com, .net, and .org. I get my list. Literally in 2 minutes, I know what's available and what's not. And you can cross-correlate, so you can see there's the keywords, there's the domains, and you can see how much traffic there is. So for your WR2, you can actually start buying exact match domains which match a specific theme or style on your site. And you know there's traffic associated with them. So you can use it for that. If you want to look at another guy's details, you can actually pull his WHOIS information, then you can scrape his IP addresses, and you can actually go do other stuff with it. And you can find how his network's laid out if you want to get into all that kind of technical stuff.
Yeah, scrape Yahoo answers.
You can do that. There's probably about 15 tools buried within the application that people don't really notice because they don't go through the menus. And you can even check, you can even see, like for blog commenting, if you want to do that at your WR3s, you can actually see if their sites are open or not, if the comments are open. So you can actually see how you can auto post your information out. There's so many, you can actually do whatever you want. That's what I love about the tool. And the developers are pretty cool. I've spoken to them a few times. So that's what I use that tool for, is to plan, and I look at what's going on, and I pull back what domains, and I take them and I stick them on my butcher paper. I use MindJet. That's what I use when I map things out. So I take MindJet and I just copy and paste out of that, and I drop, okay, on that node, there's the potential of 10 domains I could buy over there. And you can just do stuff like that. That's if you're buying new domains. So it's really, really powerful, but it saves you so much money. I bought it probably 4 years ago, and it cost me $34, and I've never bought anything else. So my IT debts come right down.
I think I paid $27 for it.
Yeah, something like that when it first came out.
I mean, and I use it on a daily basis.
So yeah, just with the IT debt, what you want to do is just focus on your network and what you're building, and forget about all the other tools. You don't really need them. They're just fun things to play with, but it wastes a lot of your time. You guys got any other questions with regards to that stuff?
Maybe relates more to what Russell spoke about this morning, about when we auto create websites. How do you throttle the RSS feed? If you, for instance, you yesterday showed us there's 800,000 videos from a drip feed those over a period of time.
Those will be plugins that you could put into WordPress, and it'll drip feed it, or you can use crons.
Yep. There's three major ways. Cron is the best. The other way is, and if you're a WordPress, you can alter it. You can modify your config.php file.
Do you know what a cron is?
I can give you that code. Yeah. You can modify the cron externally using cron services, or you can go directly to shell on your server. The other one is, I have had in the past had to modify the config file for various reasons, depending. But the best way is to, you can also, there is a plugin you can install that will, it's called, I'm not sure how it's doing at 3.5, I haven't tested it with 3.5 WordPress, but it does allow you to set the limits. So essentially it modifies your PHP for you. It's just a plugin it's like RSS limit or something, limiter, something like that. So there's 3 ways with WordPress. If you're outside of WordPress, then cron job.
Yeah. WordPress is great for that kind of stuff because there's a plugin for everything. It's almost like the iPhone. There's an app for everything. On WordPress, you just got to find the good ones, and then you only need 2 or 3 to achieve the goal.
Also, there's a plugin for PubSub, which will work with RSS, and you have 100% control over modulation. PubSub. Remember we had watched the video about what's going to replace RSS?
Yes.
There's a plugin for that already. I've only started testing it, but you have a lot more control over publishing rate in some of the plugins.
Oh, one more thing I can add for WordPress is one of the most important things. Make sure you secure your website. WordPress is very much known, and we deal with it on a daily basis with people getting their WordPress blogs hacked. They will inject stuff into your blogs and you won't even know about it.
Don't get me started.
And it happens we see it all the time.
Yeah.
We know a lot of them. Actually, what I can do is probably give you guys a lot of the exploits that we get, because we log everything when they come through, and we deal with it on a daily basis. I mean, we get 5 or 6 customers hacked a day, probably at least.
Yeah, if you can find a good hosting company like Vinny's that does secure stuff, the other thing Sue Bell gives you inside the members area is hardening WordPress. It's an extra length, but we have never had anything on our network hacked after she installed the hardening WordPress protocol. It's a little extra work, but it's really worth it.
You just lock them out from the...
You lock it down on a much deeper level.
I've got lock and unlock scripts at the shell level that you modify a couple of things based on your theme, and you can still post blog posts and you can upload images, but you can't do anything else. You can't install a plugin, you can't update the WordPress itself, you can't update the theme. You have to unlock it in order to do that. Yeah, it goes right down to the pages. They can't modify page code either. It totally stops it.
Yeah. So you have to log in and out using Tunnelier or something like that, a FTP or
Secure shell. Secure shell, and then run the unlock script.
Pasty will do it for you.
Like, you got your website, you got the www folder or the HTTP docs or whatever it is. Essentially what you're saying is no one's allowed to make changes in that realm. Changes can only happen by a person on the network. Then the network's protected by the hosting company because they got the admin privileges and that kind of stuff. So it totally shuts access off from the inside. People can't come in. And that's another major IT debt. That mistake will cost you a lot of pain and a lot of hours.
Here's the page, guys. gals. It's in the members area already. Talks about how it works, and it's gonna. There's all those things out there like security.net. You've probably all heard of those things and run scans. But
I love BP Pro. It's fantastic hardening
Security,
system. It's probably the best there is out
okay,
there.
I'm not familiar with it, but I'm sure that's great. So BP Pro,
Don't
need to look
spoke
into.
about dragging feet, getting yourself out.
I will say that the hardening, what I was really trying to say is that things like security.net and the rest, is like you don't want to have to use their services.
Just be
Like just do it right in the beginning. It's incredibly expensive.
That's good.
Like you can spend $400 to fix that stuff up, or else you have to go through. So you had to go through a bunch of PHP code on one of our properties
I will
once.
never do that again.
Oh, that was nasty. Sue
And
showed it to
that's
me.
why they charge you so much. So just do it right, lock it down, don't get anything
Yeah.
injected. Stay away from tiny MCE and everything like that.
I will. I'll share my scripts. I wrote it all out for another certification student not too long ago.
Great, yeah,
All the
it's really
steps
great.
you got to go through and the scripts, and I'll include those in the members area.
If you want to find out about it, you can do searches on exploit sites or exploit database, and in there they actually give you the exploits that people use. If you're not technical, you probably won't understand it, but if you are technical and you understand code, you'll be able to figure out, or you can read this code and you can actually see how they inject into your site. So you can actually put a defense up. But with what happened, what Stu was telling about, these guys hacked this domain, and through all the blogs, they injected code into all the blogs, which then opened up 50 backlinks to all their sites. So you can imagine you got your whole theme crafted nicely, and your silo is like that, and there's all your pages. In one of the pages sitting in your silo, next one is linking out to 50 other
That's the best way to backlink.
There's a good plugin as well called Lockdown. You can use that.
That just locks your WP admin.
That doesn't do security.
They totally bypass that, eh?
That's, yeah, but I mean, they're getting in from all of the different libraries inside of there. They'll hack someplace on the back end and get right. The beauty of WordPress is it's so freaking easy. The worst part of WordPress is it's so freaking easy.
It's so
It's public.
popular. Because it's popular, it makes it a great target.
But there really are some really good security tools that lock everything down the right way. And if you use one, they usually are pretty good as long as you know how to do it.
Yeah.
And the other thing you want to do is you want to keep your blog up to date, keep your WordPress version up to date, keep all of your plugins up to date, and keep your theme up to date. Because those are common exploits. When somebody finds an exploit on the hacker sites, everybody knows about the exploit. And first thing you know, somebody's written a bot with one of these great bot scripts that these guys were just talking about, and they're going out and they're looking for that footprint and making that exploit. So that's the thing that makes it really...
Scrapebox is one of the tools you can use to find the holes.
Yep.
So is that applicable also for URL extension, like ours, .com/blog, that they can hack in there and then go in through your
The way it works,
blog back into your site?
If they get access to Shell, they have access to everything.
You're done.
I watched a video
It's
with
over.
a hacker. He hacked a website in, it was 8 minutes. He took ownership of the site in 8 minutes, and he did it through the URL bar.
Yep.
He just typed in here, he put in a few parameters, he injected his own login details, and he sent it straight into the actual database. He then went into the database, logged in, and he took over the site.
Yeah.
And he did it in 8 minutes, and he changed the whole front screen. He had like a Santa Claus midget pulling the finger at you.
Yeah.
It says, "You're owned by me," and he put his name.
I got that one once.
Yeah.
One of the really great hacks I saw was they dropped
Oh yeah.
they dropped a file into the blog in an obscure place that unless you were actually pulling through the log and looking for it,
Nasty.
you wouldn't find it. And it was designed to reinstall the hack if you cleaned your blog.
Yeah, that happens so often.
That was a nasty one.
Through the contact us form as well.
Yeah.
It's through forums.
You know, another major exploit is Google Translate plugin for WordPress. Never install it. Ever. It's like it's completely exploited. It opens.
Cheaper solution. Do you recommend that?
WP
Yeah,
admin.
sorry, WP Manage.
You mean this?
Multiple.
This?
Oh, right. WP Manage.
No, I don't use it.
WP Manage.
Yeah, this is good for backups. You know, if you do get hacked and it's broken, if you try and fix that, rather lose 1 day's post or
love
2
this
days
program.
posts and totally back up hard and lock everything down, than try and sift through tons and tons of code.
It's one of my
Because
oh, actually, I want to talk about the expense. This is one of the small video networks. I have 3 accounts, and now I set them up for clients. Here's something that's really cool to keep your expenses down on Managed WP if you're interested in going that route. Because this is the IT debt. Matt gets me thinking about it a lot, so I try to find deals because I'm moving upwards into the hundreds. I'm planning. What? You want me to stand up?
Yes, sir.
So it's. I think that Managed WP is great for like non-technical. Like I know that there's other things like big stuff that Vinny uses, Bell, but what I really like for if you're doing WordPress, it's great for managing WR2 specifically. That's my main focus. The WR1s I like to harden with WordPress and do other things, and those are the best practices. So, however, I've been talking to the Managed P team. I've used it so much that I know people over there. Main thing is don't get the SEO stuff. See all this? You don't need all this stuff. Use your analytics stuff. See all the data? This shows all the traffic across the network there. You don't have to have that. Use your own analytics things and create your own compounder and everything. That doubles the price of your Managed WP subscription.
Oh, so you're talking about inside the...
This is inside Managed WP. Okay, this is just,
subscription.
yeah, your blogs sit all here. You can get the non-business account and you can even talk to them and they'll scale it up for you. And I'm saying, look, I don't want all your SEO stuff. First of all, it's wrong, and second of all, I just don't want, so they'll take that off. The one thing that I do like, and I've been talking to them, actually, I think I might have convinced them to do this. I do want the downtime indicator. So with anything of my hundreds of blogs, if any one of them fails, it'll just phone me. And those services can get kind of, I don't know if your hosting company offers that service?
Yeah, I didn't even get into that one. I mean, we offer we offer our own system that comes with our VPSs.
Yeah, I get that.
And basically what you do is you can drop your stuff in there and it will text you or phone you or email you or any of that stuff. There's plenty of services out there that do that.
Yeah.
And I advise every single person that has a money site to have that set up. Not only from one location, but from multiple locations.
Right.
That's the big one, because there's anomalies in the internet on a
Yeah.
consistent basis. So if you're in the Northeast and your blog is in California, and there's something that goes on in the Midwest that makes you reroute your traffic somewhere, you're going to get a false alert. So a lot of times you always want to take it from multiple points. And have it ping it every minute or maybe 2 minutes or something like that.
Let me finish communicating about this particular application that Wilhelm was asking about. So all I'm saying is that you don't have to pay the big giant prices. There's a lot of other things like Vinny mentioned, Sue's got other things. This is useful. I would go for the lower end price point. And I would bulk up. I would replace the phone notification. As long as you're willing to get rid of the phone notifier, you don't care about the SEO stuff because you can use your analytics files and the rest. Get the phone notifier with somebody else. Then you stay away from Pro, and they'll even bulk up for you. And like I said, I'm talking to them about getting large bulk prices of like 100 domains you can put in there. It's going to be really affordable. Right now, that wouldn't be. So if he takes off those Pro features, it'll be like $50 for 100 domains. Okay, and that still adds up. That's IT debt. But I use it every day. I mean, I log in. Everything's secure, but I log in from the central control panel. I don't open independent Word platforms. If I got 50 blogs open, I can mass, there's many applications that do this, but I can, my outsourced team is burning out sites, the configuration is immediately uploaded, set, and they know what to do, they go right into the list. You're just churning and burning like a car factory.
Yeah.
And then when you need to see what's going on, you can log in. If you want to keep the SEO stuff, that's fine, but I go to Google Analytics or Clicky or whatever you're using, it's all there, so why pay for that feature? Does it make sense? I'm a huge WP
You can
fan.
get Clicky for free. It's you don't have to pay for it, just install it on your server.
Yeah.
That's good for your WR2s. You can drop the code in there. It keeps it away from Google. All that information shows you the traffic stats. You can see everything. You can actually watch whether those are stopping in videos on your video sites, if it's tracking all that. It's a really good app as well. The analytics are really nice.
Yep, and I'm pretty paranoid about Google Analytics. I don't know Sue's philosophy. As I begin to grow and learn more, I'm very paranoid about including more than a few domains inside a master account. So I like the admin account to be through other Gmail accounts. You can provide temporary admin if you need to or whatever, but that's just where I'm at now. I mean, it's not the end of my world, but when you get up past like 50 domains, I mean, I would actually do it way less than that. I'm saying like 10 or 15 right now. I'm just kind of guessing. I don't really know. But I wouldn't put like, when you have 100 to 1,000 blog network, don't put them all in like one Google Analytics account.
What?
they emailed Sue and said, hey, you're obviously a webmaster or something like that. You might want to consider a paid master account. So Google Analytics is scaling up so that they have an enterprise version and they're going to charge you for it. In fact, I imagine that Google in the next few years will start charging for everything. As everything gets big, they're just going to start building out for this stuff, and you'll see more features. But it's a lot of fun, to look across a network of 1,000 sites and see traffic coming in, and knowing that they're all separated out, and that's kind of what we're trying to get you to. And know that it's completely affordable. Like, this is what I learned from Matt and Sue. We know our costs at every single level. I know exactly how much an automatic blog, how much generally traffic is going to generate, how much it's going to drive, what the time on site is. And if it doesn't convert, that's the only thing I'm not sure. And if it fails out of the gate, then just bump it, replace. It's really nice to know
get rid of it. Yeah, when you're buying stuff, always ask yourself the question, is it a painkiller or is it a vitamin? That's what you should go back to always. Do I really need this tool? How's it going to benefit my business? Like with Scrapebox, I'll come back to that again. It's a Swiss Army knife for me. I don't want to clunt around. I've got one tool on my server. It keeps things light. I can do what I want with it. I can get whatever I want. And that's how you can use this thing, because you learn to master that tool. When you master a tool, you can get the most out of it. So this tool's, it's ridiculous what you can do with this thing. When you want to collate data, and it's fast, that's what's great about it. It's a great little app, and what else? What else is there? Yeah, build as you go. Don't go and buy everything up front, because it's going to take time.
It all adds up. I also wanted to add, like Matt talking about IT debt, everything adds up. Like when we had you write all the domains out on your network, try doing a version of this. Oh, it's the worst thing I ever did. It took me 5 hours. I think maybe Sue suggested it. Every single thing on the network I put exactly every cost associated with that domain. Holy crap. And then I just did a calculation, like you're in a calculator. And of course, you do it on a spreadsheet, obviously. If you're fine with that, that's the best way. But as an exercise for students, that's what I like to do, especially when they already have a network. It's like, oh no, you forgot your proxies for your Twitter army. Okay, there's another $100 a month.
Yeah, you got to buy like 100 proxies. It's going to cost you $100 a month.
Can you imagine that much control? You've got 1,000 websites all generating amazing traffic in Red Rings 1, 2, and 3. You've got a Twitter army. You know how much that software costs. You know how much the recurring costs. You know how much the plugins cost. You're not out there buying more plugins. Why would you need to? If something breaks, and the only thing that we're doing now is the stuff that works. We're making great buddies with the creators. Like if something breaks, I'll tell somebody, Matt will call, at a certain point, there's only a few good things that start working, and you just start making those do better things, or else you write your own. All the costs are known to you. There's a limit.
Especially with your networks, the more things you add to it, the harder it is to actually find the problem if something breaks. So you want to keep them as light and as robust as possible, and stay as close to the WordPress framework as possible with maybe 2 or 3 little plugins that do specific things. Because if you've got 1,000 domains and something breaks and you've got 50 plugins, you're not going to know what's actually causing the problem or what's slowing the blog down or choking it because it's a memory hog. So if you look at 1,000 domains, you're paying $5 a domain. Every year you got $5,000 straight away, whack. Then you got your Twitter army. You got 1,000 Twitter guys. Are you binding IPs to each Twitter account? So they got the unique IP address so they don't get banned.
Domain recurring.
That's another $1,000 because it's 10 times 100.
Domain recurring hits people on the side of the head every year.
People forget about that, but next minute you come January, just after Christmas, you max out your credit card, you get the big bill. Oh, I can't pay for this. Boom.
So you better start selling. That's what it means.
They turn it off. Now all that investment, you're done. What's the time now? It was 90 days. Is it shorter that they actually, if your sites are offline for a period, they actually just, you lose your rankings and everything?
How long does your domain have to be offline before you lose your rankings? My guess would be 30 days.
I don't know. I guess it comes down to when they come through again. I've seen, 30 days is fine. Now remember, most registrars give you a month.
Grace period.
If you go through most good registrars,
Yep.
GoDaddy is not one of them.
GoDaddy.
They will give you a month grace period.
But the problem is the second that your domain is expired, your content's no longer there. You're no longer making sales.
Yep.
And your rankings do fall. I don't know.
It will disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's less than 30 days.
I think it would be
depends
too.
on the cycle when
Right.
I've seen it cycle, so it depends on when the robots come back through and when they start to. It could be anywhere from days to weeks.
Well,
Yeah.
say it's 45 days that they re-index your site.
Yeah.
If that's not there, it's offline because they've locked your account. You're gonna have to regain all that ground that you built up, which is taking you 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, ranking
So
is the least of your
you
worries.
got that IT debt. You've just been paying it off. Whack, now all of a sudden you're back in overdraft again. It's just so. These are things you want to think about when you start building your stuff out, and build them out in chunks. So build it, get it secure, then do the next step. Build it, get it secure, and always keep your eye on the money. Just watch the money so that your income and expenditures are always balancing. Because you can actually, with DWS and what we show you now, you can actually keep an income and expenditure tracker as you're moving through this process, and you can keep your eye on the ball of how profitable it is. The thing that will happen when you're doing that is you'll actually say to yourself, you know what, those domains, they are a liability. They're actually costing me money. And what is going on here? Do I keep them, or do I actually just disconnect those things and stop that expense? So you can actually stop the money bleeding out of your organization by, you'll actually see that's not working, that's not working. And
Yeah,
you can stop it.
You know, what a crazy thing to do is like take one of those domains, just take a single domain, and if you haven't got this already, how many of you are just organizing this on spreadsheets? You're not using DWS for this yet. How do you track your expenses? Spreadsheet? Like on a per domain thing? Okay. Well, what's really cool is if you actually stack the domain costs and you change it so that the thing that you're actually selling, just like the business decision screen in DWS, the thing that you're selling, the cost and the margin, it's really funny when you go through like 50 domains and you find out there's not even a product associated with like 4, this is what they call you entrepreneurial seizure. You're just building sites, but you don't even know what you're selling on them, and you're just, you're not 100% sure. Hopefully you know. If you don't have a product for a domain after 6 months, you're not using it. That's a liability.
Yeah.
So Matt was actually saying. So stop what you're doing and figure out your products and figure out where you're trying to drive the traffic, figure out what the banner is, figure out what the conversions are. Otherwise you're wasting your time and your money.
Sorry, Russ, you did right up front. Just think evergreen and think this domain must be self-sustainable. Even if it only makes $50 a year, it must contribute to the cost. So it must pay itself off and pay toward the hosting. If you can get that right per domain, then your network's in the green. It's not in the red. It's actually a good organic thing, and you can keep it running. Then you find that you're not going to get these big balls. It's just have that cash orders flow into one account. That's like managing your network account. Let's call it your network account, and just have the cash going there. So that as long as you got that buffer, and when you've covered your basic costs, then you can actually start growing again, because then you got profit.
That's cool, yeah.
And you can actually start growing the network, or take whatever's left and start the next network. And you build these different nodes out, and that's the proper way to actually manage the stuff. It's the same as Vinny knows, like you're buying servers, you got these big racks with all the servers in. That costs you money to set that rack up, to get the pipes and to get the telephone lines in. I came from the telecommunications, so we had to buy lines from BT or Earcom or any of the telephone providers. And you buy a trunk which comes in, which then splits into 13 circuits, which then each circuit splits into a set range of telephone numbers. And where you plug those circuits into the server, the actual hardware that went into the box, one of those cost $10,000 just for that little piece of circuit board. So to get one trunk to run, one line coming in, to run 50 seats, you've got to buy a piece of hardware that costs you $10,000. So how many sales do you have to do just to pay off the piece of hardware, and then the amount of rentals you've got to pay for that line coming into the building? And this is where you really have to start thinking very, very carefully on what you're doing, because it gets expensive. So you guys got any other questions? I guess they've been told they can't come back and cry.
That's right.
Are you guys pretty clear on how to add a bolt-on silo to a site? Do you want us to explain that a little bit? Okay.
Well, let's take the Wayback Machine mythology, okay? You've done your research, you find out that you need 10,000 page rank 2 domains to your site. And you want to reduce that number, so you find yourself a nice page rank 4, 5, or 6, and you actually set the site up, you get the domain, you buy it for like $500 or $1,000, get the site up as ready. You now have to get that site thematically relevant to your theme, because that could be a site about dogs, but you're actually speaking about parrots. So then you'd actually have to figure out a plan. But then this is how we start talking about animals on the dog side. We introduce the idea of animals. So we drill into animals and say the world's full of animals. We get different types of species: dogs, cats, birds, blah, blah, blah. And then from the bird silo, you start introducing the birds thing, and you start migrating the site over to birds from dogs. And you can actually then take the dogs part and structure that. You leave it for a while, but then you do your bird silo, you do your cat silo, and you can actually use that domain, because you want to harvest the links that they're theme relevant. So what you do is you upload your silo structure. If it was a WordPress site that you put it on, all you do is you create the silo structure and you just put the link in your menu at the top, which then links down to the silo navigation, and you just bolt it on the side. That's what it means. We're just adding it in there and letting it sit. We don't touch anything else. We leave it as it is. Even though it's disorganized and the links are linking everywhere and all that kind of stuff, we just leave it for a while so it just settles, and we focus on getting that ranked. Once those are getting ranked, you can then come back and start fiddling and slowly migrating this and structuring it and getting a bit better. So what happens is it gives the impression that you're actually improving and optimizing your site. But that's not really what you're doing. You're just changing the theme of the site to suit what you want, because you need a link from relevance to relevance. This is that whole anchor text penalty thing they ran. I can't remember what they called it when they nailed the guys on their anchor text and those networks all started falling. Remember that algorithm they ran? What was that one called? It was before Penguin.
Panda?
Or was it the Penguin, or which one was the one that dealt with the anchor text?
I don't remember.
I read into the whole thing, and what they were looking for was site A must be relevant to site B, and anchor text, which is the bridge, the link, must be somehow related. And any backlink that wasn't confiding to their new rules, they flagged them and dropped them. And this is why all those big networks just started falling. Boof, SEO Linkfire, and they lost like how many networks, because they were pushing content in, and you have sites with cars and dogs and birds and plastic bags and who knows what, dumpsters and all kinds of stuff linking all over the place. It's just a big spider's web. So with the silo bolt-on, you just take that idea, you make your single silo, and you bolt it on, get it indexed.
You can do that as a block, right? So like you can have your HTML site,
Yeah.
and your HTML site's got a main menu up along the top, right? And we'll say it's got birds and cats and penguins. Now underneath, in a folder underneath birds, was that what you were doing?
Yeah, that's the birds, yeah.
Yeah, so in a folder underneath birds, you can install a blog. And birds, your birds in your main menu is now going to link to where that blog is installed. Okay, and so then once you hit that blog, everything in there is about birds.
Yes.
That whole blog is about birds, so that it silos really nicely.
And it inherits the page rank from the top level domain.
Yep.
So you can essentially have how many blogs on a site?
Well,
You can have as many as you
depends
want.
on your server.
Keyword. Okay.
You could even, if you want to be fancy, you can even use subdomains. The whole of eBay, if you look at eBay, go look at eBay and just move over the categories, and you'll see that they've got a lot of subdomains. So they go from clothes, they go like really high in the vertical, they go clothes, accessories, fishing, sports,
TVs.
tv.ebay.com, clothing, fashion.ebay.com. They're using subdomains, and you drop into that subdomain, and that whole realm is just about that particular category and topic. So that's what we meant. That's what I was actually, Sue clarified it. That's what I meant. You actually just put a structure there that's focused on that. So then if you look at the URL, it'll be basically the domain name / the folder where the blog sits in, which you've named birds or whatever it is. And then the index page is the top level of that whole structure. Then you can actually map out the whole birds thing. You can actually go as far and wide as you want. It gives you scope so you can actually move out. Because with those big PR things, you don't want your page rank to drop either. You want to keep that as good as possible. But then that reduces your IT debt. This is the crazy thing about it. You got a page rank 6 or page rank 5 that's relevant, linking across. You're shaving, how much would you say the percentage would be? Like, if you were looking for a page rank 4 and you're getting one link from a page rank 5, you need like 3 or 4, 8 backlinks.
Yeah.
To push your site up to a page rank 4.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? I see you raising your eyebrows like,
No, I can take
Okay. But it's quite important.
You still essentially have that coming in from internally pushing up, where it seems to go.
No, we're talking about you buying a domain to link back to your site.
To link back to your money site.
So this could be a WR2 site.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what you're doing. You just reconstruct that thing. So you. Yeah, I wish I had a drawing board. We could actually draw it out.
Russ can bring up the drawing software for you.
Yeah, I'll just draw it out. It'll probably be easier. Leave the pens there.
See the name of that folder now that you started. Not funny.
So just so you know, there's not too much difference. Google now looks at subdomains, they have for about a year, as roughly the same thing as a folder. It's got just a little bit more emphasis than a folder because they're just a little bit harder to set up than a folder. So it's all like the more resistance there is to something, the harder, more difficult something is to do, the more they figure it means something to you. You've jumped through a bigger hoop, so you get kudos for that.
Just a blank screen.
So,
I can just click on that there.
So you can set up as many different subdomains as you want. If you don't connect the subdomains, then you're not going to pass the PageRank. So if your PageRank sits on that www subdomain, www is a subdomain just like anything else. So if your PageRank actually sits on that www site, then you have to have a link from that subdirectory to the bird subdirectory or the bird subdomain. Otherwise, you're not passing that PageRank juice over there.
Via content.
Pardon me?
Via content, like on page.
It can just be in the menu.
Okay.
If it's in the content, then you're going to get a little bit more PageRank passed. Yeah, you could rewrite. You could insert a paragraph there on the home page that's got something about birds.
Yeah, so basically, you would go and buy the domain, right? And go back to Web Machine, you drop your pages in, get it back to how it was, restore it, check all your anchors, check all the links, make sure there's no broken links. Just your typical fix-it-up job. Have it sit there. You'll then come and you create a folder over here. And once you create the folder, you'll install your WordPress blog in there. That gives you an index page for your WordPress blog.
The one interesting thing about dropping it in the menu, I would drop it in the menu too. You could still have the contextual link. But if you drop it in the menu, then you've got that link from every single page over there to that.
Yeah, I just have to see how that's done.
Right.
Yeah, you can just do it with normal HTML. Because remember, this could be a static HTML site. So what you'll do is you'll just go to the pages, depending on how you've built the site out. You'll just put that little anchor text, the href, blah, 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 with the name to the blog. So this is that blog's called Parrots, then or Birds. Then you put your birds link to the index page on that one. So essentially the index page of the blog is your silo page. Then once you're in the blog, that's going to then give you the structure.
All the categories in your blog.
So there's your categories, and if you're doing supporting articles, they nest down like this. So then you focus on this part of the site. That just sits there. Now that looks very, very normal to a lot of people because as a webmaster, you're coming in to fix up their SEO. So you're coming in there, you do that, you map that whole thing out, that whole theme's there. So then here's your primary site over here, and there's your page on birds. You can then run the link to there from the relevant pages.
Yeah.
So this here, if this is a PR7, or whatever the PageRank is, this part of the site will probably be a PR5 or PR4, depending how it inherits the top level PageRank, and that flows down to the actual page.
Don't build out 100 pages under that blog and link all 100 pages over to your money site, right? I mean, the number of links that you can put from your new site over to your money site depends on how many pages you've got on that site. But, you know, a good rule of thumb is probably 3 to 10 links, depending on how big the site is. Anything more than that, and it starts to look really suspicious. And if it starts to look really suspicious, then they reduce it to the value of 1 link, all of your links. So.
Yeah, so that's the typical idea of a bolt-on silo. So if you're working with a client, for example, and his site's not themed, that's not messing, you can essentially start migrating stuff across. Now, if it's a WordPress site that you got already, you can actually just bolt on through the appearance menus. You can actually just put the new silo term and drop it in the top menu bar and then map it out and then focus on getting those things ranked as well. But it's the same principle. Yeah, we've installed a blog on the HTML site to give us the structure. If this is a blog as well, it's just a matter of cleaning that stuff over time. But this is how you introduce the new ideas, new concepts to get them themed in. You guys all clear on that? It's not as hard as it sounds. It's just like taking a block and sticking it on there and then connecting it to the old structure.
And you can do that with a client site too. Let's say you've got a client and he wants to be siloed. He's currently got traffic coming in. He's making money off that existing site. You don't want to mess up his existing business, right? So you can bolt on a silo or two. You get those pages ranked. You start to get traffic there. In fairly short order, those rankings will outmatch the stuff on the old site. And as soon as he's making a fair amount of money off the new pages, then you can take that old content and repurpose it and create new silos on those topics.
Yeah, that's one thing you don't want to do is break a guy's site or kill his traffic by going in and just totally redoing everything. That's the last thing you want to do.
If you move a site from, say, one hosting company to another, is there anything specific you need to do, like with regard, does it have an effect on like the IP address?
That's something that I would put a lot of thought into it, because as soon as you start changing domain names and moving from one place to another place, as NS records have to be updated, your site goes offline for 2 or 3 days, which means they won't get emails. There's all these impacts that happen to the actual business. Even though you're moving a site, you essentially bring in the whole company down for 3 days, if that's where their emails come in. Now, can you imagine a big organization of 100 people, no one's got emails for 3 days? It'll be a mess. You'll get tarred and feathered when you walk into that building. So,
what you can do is you take the MX records and the name server, you take those MX records and you bring the time to live, the TTL time down to 300 seconds so that it's only going to be 10 minutes. And then you move everything. You make sure at the new site everything is set up completely first. Then you shift it from the old site to the new site in the name server, and it'll be up in a few minutes.
Yeah, or if it's mission critical, if it's a large company and they have to have it constantly up, there's dynamic DNS services out there that you can actually set the DNS and it'll walk wherever you go. And then once you have it all set and done, you just change it. And there'll be, minutes downtime. The updates in the US on DNS are just ridiculously fast. As long as you're using them, they're at a high level registrar.
no, in the UK, they did it in our organization, 3 days it took. And the guy doing it, he knows his stuff. He's not stupid.
I've never seen
I've never seen anything take more than 3 hours.
And that was one-on-one, through one-on-one.
I'm not going to say anything.
No, we used one-on-one, and that's the challenge we had in the organization.
Don't get me started about one-on-one.
Yeah.
One-on-one, GoDaddy, you're talking about the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, those guys, 3 days the company was down. Blackberries weren't working, no one had emails, no communication. So that type of thing, depending on where they're hosted, you need to really have a proper execution plan, and you need to look at everything. If you don't know about networking and that kind of stuff, I don't touch it. I just say to them, I can put you in touch with people, I'm not getting involved.
Super simple. If you come across stuff like that, pay someone to take care of that part of it, because you'll rack your brain. Because, you can actually right now push your DNS. You manually push your DNS anywhere you want in the US or into any of the root name servers in specific areas. 3 days.
Yeah, but it's for to propagate the whole world.
No. Well, no.
You don't need to propagate the
change,
world.
You change the TTL down to 300 seconds, and it's done in 10 minutes.
Yeah, you don't need to
Worldwide.
propagate the world. You only need to propagate the root.
Yeah.
Once you hit the root DNSs, there's only a dozen of them in the world. Then that'll filter down to all the other DNSs.
Yeah.
That's a different story. But the root DNSs, they're going to start talking to each other, and if they're on the high pipes, it'll move across fine.
Quickly, yeah.
But some of the down stuff, yeah, there could be major issues with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I watched it happen. That guy got so much flack and he moved it over.
I would move my DNS off of 1&1. Like I just wouldn't have my DNS there. I don't use GoDaddy. I have hosting on both 1&1 and GoDaddy, but I don't use their DNS.
That's why DNS service, like we started offering a hosted DNS service on specific IPs, on its own setup, all that kind of stuff, because so many people have come across all these issues with these shit hosts. No offense to my language, but there's a lot of shit hosts and their DNS just really sucks.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are going towards a hosted DNS service. But
Amazon offers DNS as well.
Amazon's is fantastic in their cloud.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's not expensive.
No.
But I was just highlighting the challenges that happen. Where imagine you move the stuff, your site's great, everyone's happy. All of a sudden, we can't get emails. Our email server's down. What's going on
Somebody
here?
screwed that up. That's just.
And then they locked everything up because they thought they're being hacked. It was just like.
Yeah, somebody screwed that up.
I sat there and I watched this and I thought,
On another topic, maybe you guys could address.
Sure.
I use content delivery networks for my blog. Can you speak about content delivery networks?
Yeah, that's another great setup.
Speed the crap about my blogs, like just on an overdrive.
So what content delivery services offer is places in different geographic locations where your content's actually mirrored, so that when somebody requests content off of your website, it doesn't have to go halfway around the world to actually hit the server and pull the content back. It just goes to the next largest city and pulls the content back. It can be fairly inexpensive depending on how often you want it replicated and how often you want it checked and how much bandwidth you're using, basically. And yeah, it can help your rankings, because when Google goes to pull your data, it's snappy. My biggest beef with cheap hosting is the fact that they throttle your bandwidth and the computers aren't very fast. They've got pathetic memory. So, and yet I use cheap hosting on my WR2 and WR3 sites. And so if you have CDSs, content delivery services, for those, then it'll keep your, it'll keep the data refresh time at a minimum so that you get rankings off of it.
yeah, the ping rate drops right down.
Yep.
Yeah, and essentially what a content delivery network does is it creates pull zones that allows, pull zones generally refers to a part of your style sheet or a JavaScript or something that runs within your hopefully decent template on the site. Or you can assign a pull zone to anything that you want.
They actually cache the stuff on those local
And
boxes.
so then it'll
don't they?
locally cache it. And
Yeah.
when you do your speed checks, I don't pay attention to Y slope at all because it doesn't mean anything to me personally, the Yahoo thing, but it generally gets your regular speed test up. It can up a whole point, like you can jump from a C to a B or B to A pretty quickly. And then I have noticed ranking changes in that. A terabyte on MaxCDN, which is what I use, is something like, it's so incredibly expensive. It's like $30 for a terabyte, and that's going to take you, depending upon how large your network is, it'll take you quite a while to get through. Unless you have just millions and millions of visitors on your blogs. But then you can use that pretty fast. But it's still cheap. I mean, it's fairly cheap bandwidth.
That is cheaper.
Yeah, it's really cheap. And of course, now they're offering new Asia. You probably saw the Asia MaxCDNs, and that's really expensive. They're trying to make money because it's so cheap, So, and you can get mirror image in Asia, and it's really fast, and it's like dedicated to you. And I don't understand. This is stuff that these guys do. I just know that.
Yeah, I mean,
there's more stuff being made available.
Content delivery networks are fantastic. Not everybody needs them. It's great for video. It's great for stuff like that. It gets expensive. Putting stuff you want mission critical stuff that Google's coming in and constantly looking at, you could put on these edges, and as soon as Google comes in, it shows that the load times are really quick and all that kind of stuff. It could get expensive, but it is a good thing to look at, especially if you're in a foreign country and you're hosting in the U.S. You can edge it to the country you're in, and the delivery network is much faster for you guys. There's a lot of little things for it, but content delivery networks are fantastic.
If you're blogging, currently for MaxCDN, the only thing, unless you want to customize your own plugin, is to use WC3 cache. That's one of the main ways to quickly install your pull zones.
Yeah.
It's gonna 30 seconds or less. It's gonna speed up your site because we're gonna have another grade. So that's a quick fix.
Is there anything else that you guys, like any questions you got, like while we're uploading this free for chat about IT debt, networks, speeding blogs up, all that kind of stuff? Any technical questions that you might have?
Does everybody have a content delivery network already set up? Okay. Anybody want to see how that's done? Hands-on. Set up a content delivery network? Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of stuff to do now. So he's probably got another client.
If you guys want to see it, we can do it.
Okay, I'll just log in. This is the only one I use. Vinny, if you have stuff you use to.
Russ, Micah?
Yeah.
Huh? We do.
Developer content delivery network?
I'm sorry?
Oh.
We do that also, but we're not cheap
Yeah.
because we do higher level full redundancy.
Do you have redundancy in your hardware too? Like dual power supplies and dual hard disk?
Yeah, that's another thing. I didn't really something to touch. If you go to a cheap web host, there's a real reason why they're cheap, and usually it's because they're using desktop grade hardware.
Right.
When they die, it's done. You're screwed. I mean, it's bad.
They have to pull the hardware, install new hardware, and restore from a backup.
If they can get that, and then a lot of times the backups can take 6 to 8 hours to restore, and there's a lot of issues. We do use server grade hardware. Almost everything we have is it's called N+1.
Right.
So we're redundant. Sometimes we're redundant on redundant. And it's just because we deal with high-end clients.
Right.
You know, when a client comes in for the SEO hosting and they're paying $5 an IP and they have 500,000 IPs and they're spending 5, 10, 15 grand a month with us, and they're running $1 million through this network, they want to make sure they're up 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And knock on wood, we have not had downtime in now going on 3 years.
Excellent. So you got like dual controllers, and then 2 different internet service providers, and
not only do we dual the servers, and most of our servers are clustered, so your data is sitting on 2 different clusters, and then it's replicated to another data center.
Right.
But we have redundancy on all of our core systems, all of our routers, and then we only use 40% of what we have, so that there's enough bandwidth in case someone goes up. So we engineered it for high-end corporate stuff.
Good.
And that's what we do, and that's why we make a lot of money and we charge higher prices, because
Yep.
You're paying for that.
Yep.
Or you can go to GoDaddy and get $1.99 hosting. It all depends on how much money you're moving through your networks.
Right. How important the site is to you.
How important the uptime is.
Yeah.
If your uptime is not important, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Just quickly, and I'm no expert, you guys should know that my technical ability server side is the equivalent of a kindergartner. In spite of my usage of big words. I can't really stand this stuff. I just logged into Shell the first time, like last year. I mean, I don't want to do that. It's not what I should be doing. So, But you know, you have to learn stuff, so you try stuff a few times and then you pass it on to people who are really good at it. If I have a big question, I go to the tech guys, like the ones, like these guys speaking here. Anyway, the bottom line is that this is one of my clients' accounts, Underwood Gardens. Before I installed the content delivery network, the page stayed, I ignore Y-slope. I did seriously deep research in Y-slope. I don't listen to it at all now based on that knowledge. Page speed was a C before I added the content delivery network pull zones. The way that's done is it's going to take you 5 minutes or less. When you get good at it, it'll just be something you do, just flying. All you do is you install total cache. You can't use total cache. You're going to have to find a customized solution. Okay. How many are familiar with total cache, W3 total cache? Well, okay. It's evolving a lot. I have settings. If anybody has suggestions or you're the master of the universe with this type of stuff, like the high-tech guys, I may have stuff set wrong. But here's what one of our students and partners, Eve, and I set our WR2 stuff with. Okay. General settings, just as an aside, the only thing I'm really doing, like right off the bat, and there might be specific settings that happen based on your unique thing, is I'll just make sure that the page cache is set, and I'll make sure that the MaxCDN is on. And I will also do the browser cache. I haven't had much problems doing that, but if you have your own customized settings, Sue, you want to make a correction, go for it. Everything else, I leave alone. Because I'm churning and burning, and my outsource team is churning and burning. I don't want them to mess with stuff, because there's things that you can do, like minify and the rest. Depending on the theme and variations, I just don't want to get messed up.
Yeah, on minifying, if you did wrong,
oh, terrible.
It breaks all the JavaScript,
Yeah.
and you get all the JavaScript errors.
One morning you wake up and poof. Okay, so, but the cool thing is in MaxCDN, make sure it's enabled under the general tab. Sorry about rushing in here. Make sure it's enabled under the general tab, otherwise you will not be able to do this. Okay? Click on enable. Here you're going to click whatever CDN you're going to get. Now, I'm involved in some things I haven't talked to SEO Maven or Vinny about yet. There is a NetDNA, which is the whole CDN official standard, has now enabled processes so that you can actually use both CloudFront and MaxCDN content delivery network together. That's what Eve's doing. That means you will never have any downtime ever, and you're not dependent on your hosting company for that. I don't know how to feel about it because I don't have your level of knowledge. I'm very cautious about installing it, but it's something that.
I mean, I don't.
All right, I want to talk to you about it.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't beat the CDNs. They're
Yeah,
really
but
just.
CloudFront's not a CDN technically. It's a little weird. You got to modify your DNS, and that makes me nervous. But just know that there's such crazy stuff coming out that you will. I think eventually nobody will ever have any downtime. The whole cloud will just be distributed.
That's really kind of what the cloud is. That's what the cloud is made for.
Yep.
It's made for exactly that. Wherever you move, wherever you go,
Yep.
it's there. It doesn't matter. You're just hooked up to it.
Yeah, and CloudFront is a specific service that I'd like to run by before I introduce it to you. I have used it. In fact, on curationempire.com, it's the video blog, I have it installed. And when the hosting company went down, it was still there. I had forgotten that I installed it. And there it was, just totally cached, like the whole thing. And up front it said, the courtesy of CloudFront.
Yep.
Nothing's down. Now the problem has been that there's been a conflict between MaxCDN and CloudFront. Now you can do them both. So I'll keep you updated in the memory there because that is cool. It's cool. And it didn't bring my grade down at all with CloudFront installed. So NetDNA, MaxCDN, once you have that set up, I chose again. Now keep in mind that there are other Max services. So bear those in mind. There are all of these. There's pull mirror services and push. Okay, we're really working with pull zones. Even AT&T, you can see the Amazon CloudFront. I used Amazon Content Delivery Network, and I don't know, it might have been a cognitive illusion, but it seems slower to me. And MaxCDN is just most of the time lightning fast. Occasionally, one of their pull zones will fail. And then I'm chatting with the MaxCDN guys, you know, and they're saying, oh, our Amsterdam quadrant went out, sorry. And then meanwhile, only half my blog comes up. That's why you would have CloudFront stacked over that, because that wouldn't even go down. That zone would be corrected. NetDNA, Yoast, who I respect a lot for the blog sphere. I use his SEO plugins and his video cache plugins, the most powerful plugin I've ever used in my entire life. The video sitemap generates, I don't know, 20% of my traffic right now. That won't be true forever, but it's really powerful. But he loves MaxCDN, so I went with him and a few other services, okay? So what you do is you just log into MaxCDN with an account. First you go to the CDN area of WC3 cache. click on CDN. Okay, and here's going to be your configuration. Because NetDNA, which is like the standard, has made so many changes, things are a little bit weird, so I had to chat with them. Just log into your MaxCDN. You can see these are all the pull zones across several of the blogs in this account. I think there's something like 10 blogs in this account. 50 zones, that's what I've created. And there's stuff in here that Sue Bell and these guys would have to explain to me. I don't care what they mean. All I know is my blog runs faster. Okay, but there was a lot of information. I'm kind of I'm having fun with it, so I am curious, but it's not business required necessity that you understand what these things mean. The non-cache hits, the cache hits, because they're caching on the edge, like Vinny was saying. And there's all these things, and you want to set your thing properly. You can save you a lot of money. So this is the traffic that's been pulled over the last few days, about 600 megabytes through all of my network on Java uploads into the cache on this network. Okay, so that's how much. They're saving the user's speed time by caching that, and then they're charging it out in really, really like pennies. Okay, you can see that. How does this work? Activities chain. They just did it. 50 zones transferred. All you have to do is you're just going to simply go to your zones once you set up, and click on your zones. This is brand new. And you're going to view pull zones. It's incredibly inexpensive. What they do is they give you a URL. Let me give you a client. Yeah, here's some blog, a test blog. I don't think it's in use right now. Just pull something up. Like, yeah, here's a test. Yeah, and so you can go and you can look at bandwidth loads right in a particular blog. I create 4 pull zones. They just changed the interface, so you can actually create all 4 inside of one pull zone for your blog. But before they didn't have that, so they did the whole rewrite. They're getting pretty serious about this. What you do is you just create. When you create pull zone, you're going to ask you to name it. I just name it blog-1. Then I create a zone name. It assigns a cluster ID, and then it assigns. You put your original URL in. If you get that wrong, you're totally hosed. So be careful. Make sure it's the right URL. I will also say that they create a temporary URL. You can create the temporary URL in there. I would use your domain name, so there's some pseudo branding in the lower part of the browser. But I would also say that you can change that. And there's a whole instruction manual on how, if you want to, you can brand that specifically to a subdomain if you want.
Okay.
It's expensive. They're going to charge you more.
Right.
Yeah. And I haven't gotten to that with you. I've been too busy just building zones.
Right.
Now I got like 100 zones in here. Then what you do is you just literally copy and paste zone number 1, okay, into your blog. And W3 has just really upgraded their plugin. They are really just cranking. I mean, they're getting better and better. They used to like wreck your htaccess files in certain situations, and there's a lot better coding happening. Reserved for CSS. This is the one that this is the one I created for the client. I just created the full zone, Heirloom Seeds 1 of Emetics LLC. That is the account. That's actually the name of the account, my MaxCDN account. So now that you know that, when you name your account MaxCDN, name it the domain. They automatically assign the account name to your pull zone. And I didn't know that. And I don't like it. So just call, from now on, I'm going to open an individual account of Max pull zones for individual clients. It'll be nicer that way. I'll name them.
Name it the domain
Terrier
name.
Seeds.
Right.
It's so much better because it's keyword. Not the end of the world, because they only see these things for a minute when the page is loading. Right?
But the naming convention is also branding in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of branding. So essentially, it's branding me on his site. He's not kind of, that's not really great.
That might be okay.
No, he will never notice it. The heirloom seeds is important. It's minor
Right.
stuff. The point is, you can change all that if you want. So you're going to copy that zone into the reserve for CSS. And the CSS slide is the slow loading thing, especially in these types of blogs. His blog was not a Pinterest blog. His was just a regular zone. He jumped from C to B right there. Then I added 3 additional zones for the JavaScript in the header. And every theme is different. Like my Pinterest themes are they're so Java heavy in the footer that there's ways I can fix that outside of this, but as soon as I did this, boom, it speeds up from almost everybody globally. Usually I can get up to a high B, and that's pretty good for a giant Pinterest with 90 videos. It's pretty good. All right, so you add one to each zone. I'm not that advanced at this, so if anyone figures it out, we should, in our masterminds talk about it, but you can actually add new zones. Some things you can actually create custom zones. That's heavy coding. That'd be something we would organize that. It's above my head. But if you wanted to, if you had something really heavy on one zone, you could create an association with that in a style sheet. Okay, so it's advanced. All right, and then all you have to do at that point is just save all settings. And then literally, when you come back into Manage WP, which is what I use, or in the free version of this, you'll see almost always an upgrade of at least one, sometimes two positions in the page speed. And this is just part of the process map of every single WR2 blog that I do. And it's really great because of the user experience is improved. And this client was just so happy between me doing that for him and showing him the bounce and getting rid of the bounce rate. I mean, the wallet was permanently open. Those are the only two things I really did. So it's the little things and the demonstration of those little things before their eyes over Skype, which I did for him, which pulls in client work. Like I have about 50 tricks like this. And so you stick to the basics, and as long as it has an impact, it's going to be really helpful. These are just ideas. You can do what you want. So the site got faster, and the site is a whole different topic. See, I would rather do this kind of stuff and just drive traffic than have to mess with site structure for clients. There's no amount of money you could ever give me to mess with the site structure, because there would be no return. There's just not, and he wouldn't pay. He couldn't afford it. So if anything, I'd pass him on to one of you guys if he wanted something, and you guys have at it. Because he's been asking me the same thing. Do I silo this? What should I do? And I'm like, bolt-on silo.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Even a bolt-on silo? Matt? Kevin?
Yeah, you never want to fiddle with it or futz the guy's side that exists, because the chance of you breaking something is always high.
Yeah.
And then your name is Mud.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many problems with this site that I don't even know where to begin with them. So it's just I'll do these things that I can actually help them with right away. Yeah. Okay, that's all I really wanted to show you. So that's MaxCDN, almost free for pretty much more than your whole network can get launched in the first year off of that. Then there's WC3, those with the CDN activated, and you guys are golden. That's something you can go home tonight and do like right now. And there's another pretty cool tool online that shows you the load and speed time if you want to get really granular about it. And there's something that I don't know if you know about this, but it's called First Byte. It's a rating system that determines how quickly your site loads. It's like kind of red lighting for your car. So my goal now, I'm kind of an amateur with that kind of stuff, but my goal now is just to try to get that first byte down to this minimum, like under a second. And I can't do that for the big sites like the video stuff, but for the smaller ones and the sales pages, that's pretty cool. With MaxCDN combined with CloudFront, you might be able to do that. Kind of exciting. And that affects ranking directly. I've watched it. I watched my ranking go up several positions, even on the videos as they're indexed to the sitemap, just by that little time.
Okay, the next topic I have is going to take longer than a half an hour.
Okay.
And you guys look kind of fried. Should I let you off half an hour early today?
Shake the head.
All right. Then,
I have one quick
Okay,
question. if I
sure.
could. Russell, have you used Buffer in your first string? The Buffer app?
Buffer.
Yeah,
It sounds so familiar.
Buffer app.
It's like tweak.
Oh yeah, Buffer. Who uses Buffer is Twyla. Twyla's connected to Buffer, and that's where I use it. Yeah.
Do you know if there's an into Buffer with an RSS feed?
No, there isn't. That's why I didn't mention it. And it's a great idea, the idea of buffering your feeds and stuff. It would just be nice, if they had some way to get in there. Let's see, what else could we do? We could log in and look at the Twitter armies.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun.
okay. I'm trying to entertain now. The greatest show on earth.
Well, are you going to talk about Twitter armies?
Sure, absolutely. I was going to log in and just show them one running.
go for it.
Okay, I'm just playing around now. This is not Sue's, this is the one that we haven't really gotten much to yet.
Are they at the end of the Twitter handies?
What's that?
Nothing.
Make sure that I don't have any mental material on my computer at home. I'm just messing with it. My daughter works on this machine. She runs the Twitter army.
Do you want this being taped?
Sure. Okay. Well, this is one Twitter army on my machine in the office. Sue has several.
Yeah, we have a generic Twitter army, and then for our clients, we have a specific Twitter army for each of them.
Memory sitting nicely, yeah.
Yeah, and that helped me with the memory on this machine last night.
So is it one Twitter on per client?
Yeah. So I have like 25 Twitter accounts for a particular client, and then I also run their stuff through the generic army.
So TweetAdder sadly crashed overnight.
Aw.
Doesn't do that much anymore with the new upgrades that we were working on. We were souping up the machine last night.
Right.
Right now they do the machine back on. So what happens is this is a pretty small army. This is for mostly health and wellness, and there's several, both health and wellness and theme zooms sales army is on there. For one of our armies, we have another one as well. So this is the stuff that I started, and then Sue honed it, and we're just getting better and better with it.
No, Russ, did you mute your mic by some chance?
Has it been muted the whole time?
This last little bit, yeah. I just noticed.
Oh, just now, or was it the whole time?
It was the whole time.
I think we lost the whole MaxCDN talk. That's all right.
No, we didn't. I got it.
Oh, okay.
It's just not as clear.
Okay, no worries.
What is the app called that you use, Russ?
Oh, well, we've been experimenting with a lot. This is currently called TweetAdder. Our outsourcers are using it. Roz has got several huge armies. We've got
Yeah,
this
there is an issue, or at least there seems to be an issue with TweetAdder over about 50 people,
Yep.
50 Twitter accounts. So we haven't nailed exactly what that is yet, but
Oh, I found we need to soup up that machine too.
Is it
It's
crashing?
it's a memory thing, because this hasn't.
Is that on the?
it's more than just a memory thing. I got some Twitter accounts that are just sitting there dormant. They don't tweet, they don't add users, they don't.
Oh, I'd like to talk to you about that
Okay.
because I think that's his settings.
But it doesn't tweet even.
Oh, it's not tweeting.
No.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, until we customize something, you know. I mean.
Yeah.
So anyway, what this is doing at this point is you can put in a license into it, and we have unlimited license for several versions, but what I have my daughter do when she's building stuff is she makes a user profile, like everything we described, everything is set up, a real persona, the images and the rest. And the Twitter account is set up. And the blog is usually live before I do this. It's in part of the process map for outsourcers. And then the blog, once it's actually syndicating content and regulated, then I log into Twitter feed. Sue is testing on our other machine direct tweets through this. This allegedly has a feed in. There's a feed matrix on this. I can show you that while it's still loading. So theoretically, you're supposed to be able to shoot. We're having some problems with it.
It's the links I got problems with. It takes it'll publish the feeds just fine, but it doesn't like to use Bitly, and so we're using a different one, but then that puts an iframe around the entire content,
Yeah.
so I'm not real happy with that either.
Yeah, I mean, so far, the most robust thing I've found for Twitter is a third-party service called Twitter Feed. And it's just, not only that, it's super Bitly friendly, like they talk beautifully. So when I log into my Bitly account, I can look at all Twitter armies and all the clicks on all links in the week. So you log in there and it looks like 50 on Wednesday, 400 on Saturday. Sunday is the biggest day for hits in the health and wellness industry. It's like through the roof. On Sunday, it's like, 300 to 400 clicks across the whole network. So Bitly is what's passing through this using Twitter feed. Okay, so when I'm syndicating content from a blog, I submit the feed inside of Twitter feed, which I can show you here if you want. But meanwhile, this little thing is humming in the background in the side of the room, just constantly growing your followers. That's what's happening, if you get the settings right. Makes sense? Also, when I launch a Twitter account, I always launch it with 13,000 followers. Yeah, $5. That takes off my limits. I haven't done that on all these, but I started that in the process map. That removes my limits so that when I'm adding with this, it creates, I don't have to worry about the 1-to-1 ratio lock, which we'll show you. We actually, at least what Roz, our outsourcer guy, is saying to do, changing that stuff around a little bit. But
Yeah, we haven't looked at that yet.
yeah. So the bottom line is you can add as many as you want, and you can manage your users all through right here. There's proxies. The registration code is associated with each Twitter username, and there's an unlimited thing, but you can actually use multiple Twitter tweet adder accounts if you want, multiple registrations, but it doesn't really affect anything. I mean, as far as this, it's obviously a desktop application. That's why I'm running it remotely. Okay. So if you look at if you want to open a specific user, let's just look at, here's something related to, it's not currently logged in, but what you can do with this piece of software is you can automate it. You can turn automation on or automation off. Okay, if you're not into automation, you can remove any of these at any time. And what's cool is you can either import a list of followers that you scalped from somebody else. This is one of the coolest features of this software. Let's say there's somebody in the dental industry. You just take his Twitter account. It's called followers of a user. Okay, and you can scrape his entire list. And then over time, this will follow all of them over the course of the next several months or a year. It will attempt to follow them back. Just pretty basic stuff. Also, if you don't want to scrape and follow users that are targeted in your market, that's my favorite method. If you don't want to do that, you can just put a keyword in that's related, and we'll find everybody at Twitter at search.twitter. We'll do the whole search thing and find people related and try to follow those. And if you have the automation on, it's during those times that you set. You can set the maximum. Roz's maximum send is, I've had 2 accounts banned only, and it was because of this application, so we had to get the settings right. One of those accounts I got back with a simple registration, the other one was permanently banned. But those are the only 2 accounts that ever got banned. So you got to make sure that you set these things right. I limit it to 20 to 50 follows per day, and the ratio is 1.2 to 1. I think that's a little conservative, but you can set the ratios in there. Okay? And you can follow back people. Over following is what I think gets the account banned. This is a guess.
Yeah.
And I've really throttled it way down because some of these accounts I can't afford to lose. Like, they are generating traffic like hand over fist because of the way that I do it, because of the way that I'm automating the blog posts with video and headlines. It converts, so I can't afford to lose them, especially if I've put 13,000 followers for $5. It's only $5, but I don't want to lose it.
I can give you an example
so
on
I
this.
throttle it way down.
You got to do everything in moderation when you use automation. It's got to be realistic to how real people operate. So you sort of have to just think it through. Sue and I were doing some experiments where we wanted to really understand how the Twitter bots respond. So we're using some cloaking technologies to auto-create accounts, ping, and watch what happens. As soon as you create an account and you post something, what do they do back to you? And it was quite interesting what we found out, because we actually found documents that explain how the whole army looks, or not the army, how the bot comes back from Twitter when you make the request, how they respond to you, and how they actually analyze where you're coming from, how they look at your site and all this kind of stuff. Where you're seeing the links to and all those things. And some of the guys that use the software, they're just highly, highly aggressive. They'll just turn and burn like 1,000 accounts. And Twitter was blocking them literally within 30 minutes. Those accounts were getting killed. So they'll squeeze a few posts in and then they'll die. So if you choke it right down and do it as if, because who's going to post 1,000 times in a day? It's not realistic. So you're triggering your flags. So if you're using stuff like this, be realistic. Always think, okay, what would a real person do? Even we found some stats. What was the stats for the average posting? Like a hardcore Twitterer would do there's not even 100 tweets a day or something.
Right.
Or something like that. These are like the guys that are addicted. They're just like tick, 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 the whole day. The number's only like 100. But typically it's like maybe 19 or 20 tweets at the day is like the average, if that.
Those are still some pretty hardcore guys.
Yeah. The numbers are super, super low what guys are tweeting.
Yeah, I think 5 or 6 tweets on average for people who avidly use Twitter. I mean, you figure if they got a job, they got stuff they're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah. And I have never had any trouble for doing bulking up out of the gate on Twitter. That was the thing I was always concerned. They just don't care. I mean, I've never gotten penalized for bulking up with thousands upon thousands. I've experimented as up to 50,000. And it's done nothing but raise the ceiling on my follow backs. I still throttle my follow backs, but that's what I'm doing now. None of my accounts got banned ever, even on TweetEdit when I was aggressively following when I had a high ceiling max.
But is that following or is that actually posting?
No, I'm talking about
Just following. I just don't understand what you're referring to.
Okay, I'm talking about loading up followers with followers that you buy when you're out of the gate. It affects how quickly your site will get banned when you're auto tweeting through Twitter feed. When you're following aggressively people. In other words, when you have a bunch of people following you, it's the likelihood of you getting banned seems to be a little bit less, but I still throttle it way down. In other words, I only want to. I'm fine. I'll follow 20 people a day. See, the money is in the clicks through Twitter feed, right here. Okay, this is where I'm showing you how Twitter feed works. Now, this is really. I just wanted you to show you. All you do is you go to the dashboard and Twitter feed, and you just set up an RSS feed from your blog. Okay, you just create a new feed. All you'll do is you'll call it your WR2 blog, or however you want to post it, or whatever. Take that RSS feed either from FeedBurner, like we showed you earlier, or directly out of your blog. Okay, set it, make it active. Okay, I go every 2 hours. If you're rapid firing videos or posts, you can just go every 1 hour, but I wouldn't go into that. I've had no problem with that. I actually like to get a customized bit.ly URL. I have a one-to-one relationship with my Twitter account with bit.ly. I only do that because I found out when you get a customized, actually that's not true. I found out that if you do a single bit.ly API through 10 Twitter followers, when you log into bit.ly, you can see all the traffic across that network. So as long as they're the same theme cluster of Twitter accounts, it really drives traffic, and that's when you start seeing, you can log inside bit.ly without buying the bit.ly corporate version, which is $2,000. So you want to hack around the corporate version of bit.ly, just use the same customized bit.ly API URL for all your Twitter armies, and then you log in, you get all the traffic stats. It's really cool. Okay, and then what I like to do is I like to set, I don't like publication date for the WR2 blogs. I like GUID. And I remove feed as sorted. The reason is I just want them to randomly grab, posts throughout, because I'm just blasting content through the Twitter army through random intervals. Okay, so I don't need it to be in any particular order. If you ever want to set it, like next is next, like it's in the correct order, then just put feed as sorted. When you go into step 2, then you just connect it to your Twitter account. It's pretty straightforward. I didn't create you a feed, probably should. And you would just make sure your Twitter account's open, you connect the Twitter feed, and you're automated. It's about 6 steps. You can come back and look at the stats, look at the traffic, you can log into bit.ly. It's done. I'm happy to help any one of you while you're here do this in 5 minutes or so. Okay, and then what's happening is that you have traffic, you have actual content from your own platforms running through every one of these individual updates, which is fantastic, because that means anytime you get a click through whatever reasons, even when you purchase Twitter followers, you're still getting traffic, things get kicked in. It's really interesting how that works. But you're also getting Twitter follows off your blog. And when you start automating this over time, it's a sustainable thing. You can see here, let me show you here, for example, Business in a Box is one of the theme zoom fake profile persons. You can see left to follow, 43,000. That's because I took Bruce Clay and the head of the SEO conference, Danny Sullivan, who has like 1 million followers, and I scraped the entire list. I scraped 100,000 or something like that, 50,000. So it's going to drip those in over time, and they're targeted. And over time, what happens, those real targets, if they follow you back, some of them are automated as well. But you start to build people who are following you back, and if the tweets are right, you'll get some cross-stream traffic from those targeted followers. So that's how authentic traffic then comes to you. There's other places, such as my survivalist niche and the rest. I don't know where the traffic's coming from off of Twitter, except that they must have ended up following it on the auto blog. somehow. I mean, because they're real clicks. I mean, the survivalist niche is through the roof on Twitter. Like they're all freaked out and tweeting and clicking. And I don't know. The world's ending and stuff. So that's a little bit of how this works. Hopefully that makes sense. You can also set replies if you want. Replies are nice. I just haven't gotten to it. My daughter runs this whole thing, shows us how she earns money from me. She just plays, you know. The retweet is, the reply is just, you know, thank you for following us back. Do visit my site. Put your URL in there. I get traffic from that sometimes. You know, this is a pretty small army, as you can see. No, it looks like it's about 50. Some of it's health and wellness, some of it's themes in. Okay, so a little bit of a sneak peek how that works. There's some bugs being worked out. Like I said, the annoying part about this is you can really get banned. I personally load up my Twitter accounts with a higher ceiling. I don't just start cold. I like, you know, a few in there. And ever since I've done that, it's been not a problem.
You want to have a few tweets in your account before you pay for followers?
Or Twyla. Twyla won't let you in. Because the next step here would be to get everybody on Twyla. Like, they won't let you in. So have at least 100 tweets in there. Cool stuff, though, and it's kind of fun.
And we usually mix in, we've got like a static file of quotes, you know, quote of the day and motivational stuff and all that kind of good stuff that we mesh in with the marketing copy. Just, I mean, it's not that you have to, but it just helps get a few more followers and it looks a little bit more natural.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do. And so that's a little bit about that. And also we are automating, I'm automating in the health and wellness. I don't know if it works anywhere else, but in the health and wellness industry, I'm automating fan pages, and it's generated thousands of dollars for me. And it's the same thing. You use the Twitter feed system in the same exact way, and Twitter feed connects directly to a Facebook fan page. You have to have your account open just like you have your Twitter open. Just click. You can select which wall you want it to go onto. Boom, it's automated.
Is that how you're getting such tremendous reaches recently?
Yes.
I see.
Mm-hmm. I hesitate to show you the subject matter, but things like Lyme disease, fact or fiction. I purchase Facebook fans up front. Most of them are not real, but it gets my edge rank up, and all of a sudden they start finding me through the Facebook search engine.
Yeah.
And it snowballs. I mean,
the conversation recently has been outrageous on this.
Once in a while, you find a niche. Morgellons fact or fiction is the hottest trafficked thing that I've ever seen. There's people. All I do is we finally created a form letter that just said it's not a real persona. It's the lady who is the persona for Morgellons fact or fiction. And when my client is an expert in the topic of hypertoxicity, Morgellons, and Lyme disease, I have to remind her to go in there. Or go in there like be like 5 responses. Please help me. Blah blah blah. And then usually we say I can't provide medical advice,
right.
But saunas really helped me. Healing Grapevine really helped me. I try to not be very salesy. Occasionally, I will actually give a piece of really personal advice. I'll try to hand curate it. It goes through. We might make sales, we make contacts, opt-ins. These are high leverage sales. These are $4 to $6 grand. No, actually $4 to $7 grand sales. So I can honestly say that I know that 2 came from one of the fan pages. I just can't tell you which one because my tracking's not good enough. But automated fan pages, I'm happy to show you how to do that. Whatever you guys want. I mean, it's very cool stuff. But all of this is happening downstream. So the blog stuff we did first, you know, those videos, the videos that are going through that fan page are pulled up on YouTube automatically under the theme Lyme disease. There's 93,000 Lyme disease videos, right? I mean, I have people arguing with themselves on my fan page about video stuff and asking me, making comments about why it shouldn't be posted or this and that, and yelling at me. And 2 weeks later, I come back and there's a whole universe alive in there. Like, you know, it's like Men in Black when he goes to the locker and opens it up, and there's a whole world of people like doing stuff in there. It's like, to me, it's automation. It's not connected to my brand directly. It's indirectly. It's interesting and compelling content. It's open graph oriented, and it's videos. And one of the things you don't want to do is set the videos running through your fan page on your RSS feed so that the videos hang inside Facebook. They should not be playable in Facebook if you're using other people's videos off YouTube. Does that make sense to you? Because if it plays in Facebook, they don't click through to the site. So you want to have only the image show. and there's a special there's a special function of Facebook called the Facebook debugger, and it'll tell you exactly if your open graph in your blog is working. Then you have your image coming through. But Twitter feed does a very good job of just pulling Facebook images. If you have your blog saying, oh, Yoast's SEO plugin will automatically set your open graph for really, really crappy themes that don't have open graph friendly image pulling. Okay, so just set the open graph button on Yoast SEO. It's a really good one. Okay, and then what we've just done is, actually you could set one of those up in about 3 or 4 hours and start getting traffic in about 10. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So that's how you start it. Just get it. It's a good kickoff. Okay? Good. Thank you.
All right. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we'll be back. We're going to talk about local, all things local, first thing in the morning. And then we're going to talk about the timeline for the soft, medium, and hard launches. And then in the afternoon, we're going to cover all things networks.